Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, June 27th, Monday, June 28th, for those of you across the pond and beyond. Welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm so glad you guys could join us this evening. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and I hope you guys are staying cool. We finally got some rain going on here, but there's a lot of us all around the globe here, and even up into Canada in spaces where it's generally cool. Record temperatures going on, so you guys try to keep cool and enjoy the show. If you're listening live right now, you're listening on Spreaker.com. You can also find us live right now on KPNL Radio, which you can find at kpnl-db.com. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Castbox, Tumblr, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, as well as Podcast Chaser. So I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we will be talking to and getting to know the members of Cornerstone Supernatural. And Cornerstone Supernatural was formed in April of 2018 by Paul Busch and Janine McCaw. The name was chosen as a cornerstone is the foundation stone that often holds history and mysteries of its own. Our members range from 35 years experience to people just starting out in the paranormal field. There are currently 15 investigators in the Lower Mainland, which is Vancouver, British Columbia area, and that's the Lower Mainland Division, and then 15 investigators in the Interior group. While this might seem like large groups, this allows our investigators to come when it suits the clients. Not every client can open their doors on a weekend, and of course our members have families and jobs. Their team comes from their diverse backgrounds that offer insights into the stories that may be waiting to be told. Their investigators have different talents that they encourage as they believe personal growth is awareness is important. We also try to involve the client whenever possible as they believe that they should share the experience of trying to find answers. Supernatural for them includes many facets of the unknown, where they are opening up to ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, and more. Their Facebook page, Cornerstone Supernatural, has over 2,400 members, and they strive to have a safe place where members can share stories, test theories, and keep informed. Some of their findings can be found on their website, which is cornerstonesupernatural.com. Well, welcome, Paul and Janine. It's so awesome to have you guys here tonight.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here. It's nice to finally get a chance to talk to you one-on-one. I've been a listener for a few years now, and I've followed your various radio shows.
Oh, wow.
So great to find you. I know.
That's awesome. Okay, so I think your speaker is just a tad loud because I heard it feedback just a little bit there. But otherwise, we're doing great. So we've been talking about the weather as we were coming into the show, and you were reporting, as a lot of my friends up in Canada, that it is so stinking hot this year.
It is. I mean, it's and it's just come up, like we were just talking about June last year. June, well, we had to complain it was because it was too rainy. Now it's, you could almost, while you can, fry an egg on some sidewalks here in British Columbia. So
yeah, for some of your listeners who might not be familiar but are more familiar stateside, we are just a hop, skip, and a jump north of Seattle. So if you're familiar with Seattle, the Pacific Northwest, and their rainy, moderate temperatures, they are suffering through the same heat wave that we're suffering through right now. And we really don't have air conditioners because we really don't get this type of temperature for more than a few days each summer. So we've all been hit pretty hard by this sudden sweat fest we're having.
And that's true. It's really unusual for here, and the fact that some people don't have fans, some people don't, because they're not prepared. So of course everybody's going into the box stores, the mom and pop shops and things like that, looking for some sort of air conditioner, and guess what? they're all sold out. So they're having some difficulties and trying to. In fact, it's so warm that they're canceling school for tomorrow. So school is being canceled because of the heat advisory, which is really unusual because I know I'm coming from Saskatchewan, and for those who don't know, in the middle of so basically the middle of Canada with a lot of flat area, that it didn't matter what temperature it was. You always went to school. So
we're sounding like our parents. Hey, like when I was a kid, we used to go to school and 108 degrees of temperature and not complain about it. It snowed in July. We had to bring in our boots now.
So I mean, it's even difficult for the kids. I mean, because of what's happened with COVID and everything else like that, people are finally getting their kids back to school, and now they can't. So it's back to square one. Mind you, I think school's almost over for a lot of them.
About.
So.
Wow. Yeah, you guys run pretty late into the year as far as school goes. I was so grateful when our school got out near the end of May, because I had been doing homeschool, which I unfondly refer to as homeschool hell, because, oh my gosh, I had 3 kids that were doing homeschool, and that is a chore. I mean, I really look up to teachers and the job that they do, like all these kids, trying to keep them on task and everything. And man, hopefully COVID will go away to the point where my kids can go back to school this next year, and we can all live like a normal life. But yeah, it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. And especially when you're homeschooling your kids, and we've got a couple of our team members that have been doing that, and to try to come up with different things on a daily basis is pretty challenging, as far as everybody knows. So, because you never know, it's like, okay, today, did we do that yesterday, or we're going to do it today, but it's going to be different, and how am I going to advance it, and are they actually learning things, and so. Yeah,
it's been a challenge for everybody for sure. Hey, but Paul got his second shot today, and I'm due in 2 weeks, so then we should be good.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
I know. It was literally packed in the place. We went to the convention center here in Vancouver, which it's huge. And line up I said to Janine, it's like going through Disneyland. It's you're going through all this maze you got people with signs saying you go down to line 3 and others to line 6, and oh wow, it was like an adventure all over again. But I would easily say there was about 3,000 or 4,000 people in line just to get their shots. So we're kind of fortunate up here. I think we're well into the 80% margins for people having their second shots already. So, hey, if it keeps somebody else safe and keeps me living for a few more days, I'm all for that. But, everybody to their own.
Yeah. Which vaccination did you get, and did you have any reaction to it?
So far, so good. A little tired, but other than that, not so bad. Today I had Moderna, and I had the AstraZeneca as the first one. So I've got a mixed cocktail happening in my system right now.
Oh wow!
But some people are saying, well, that's a good thing. Others saying, no, you've got to have the same thing. Hey, if the health professionals say to me, okay, this is good, you're going to have it, I'll go for it.
When we got our first shots, the AstraZeneca was really the only thing that was available to us, so that's why we took it. And then they came out and, some doctors said, go with it again, and some said, no, go with the other one. And they can't make up their minds, so we're just trying to make up our own minds ourselves. And, personally, I think, I took the risk on the AZ the first time, and I don't know whether I really want to try it again. I was fine, but there's always in the back of your mind, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, we've got a handful of our family members that have gotten it. My sister and my mom got it because, they were going to go to Cancun in June, which that got cast aside. But they did pretty good with it. And then my daughter works with toddlers and such, so she got the 2-shot, which I believe was the Moderna as well. And then her fiance got the all-in-one 1-shot Johnson & Johnson, and man, it really did affect him pretty harshly. He was sick for about a week, and then he got to feeling better. But yeah, there's a lot of different stuff going on. For me, I don't know, I just think it's still in like the experimental phase. Most vaccinations have been tested for quite a while, so yeah, I'm not going to stand in line for that stuff yet, but perhaps in the future.
Well, I think that come fall, for those that do, when you get a flu shot, I think it'll be a combination, flu and COVID, just to as a booster on an ongoing basis. I think, personally, I think we'll have this like a shot every year just to keep the wolves at bay, so to speak.
But you can go to Bruce Springsteen's concerts, because apparently
you can't go to a concert.
The venue was banning anybody who had AZ for a bit, but I guess they straightened that out. But that's what happened when he started booking.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you couldn't. So if you wanted to go to the concert, you had to prove that you had not taken AstraZeneca as a shot. So, which was. Wow, you mean, okay, no, I've got what happens if I've got a mixed bag? Does that mean I halfway can come in?
Half of me? Let's take the upper half.
Can I put a foot in? What?
We would really just like to see that border open again, because ironically, I think on our Peace Arch border it says, let these gates never be closed. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a typical war that shut those gates, but they're certainly closed right now, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't many people that came through. If you had work, or if you were, for working, or in our case, it's really, really bizarre because part of the United States is actually just off of Vancouver.
Yeah.
And you have to come through British Columbia in order to get. I'm not talking Alaska. I'm talking just down by. It's called
Point Roberts.
Point Roberts. And you have to. So for those that live in Point Roberts, it's in America. So you have to go through Canada
to get back. Because there's a body of water between Washington State and Point Roberts. Yep. So unless they have a boat, they have to drive from Point Roberts through Vancouver, go around, and then go back down through Blaine to Seattle.
Oh wow!
So they're stuck there, and getting their groceries and doctors and things has been really, really hard for them. It's just a tiny little peninsula that's.
And then, of course, everybody in the Lower Mainland would try to go across. Well, they haven't been able to, but they would go across the border because gas was so much cheaper there than in Canada. So we're paying like
it's been hard.
It paid like almost $1.70 per liter, which is Canadian, which is crazy. Never seen that before. Never seen that. At the beginning of all this, we were down to like 70 cents or even 68 cents at times there for a liter of gas, which was back to the early 70 days. So I don't know what that's like for you guys down in Colorado, but I mean, it's got to be strange because most of the a lot of the oil transports from Canada into the United States to get refined to come back into Canada. So interesting.
Very interesting. I'm learning a lot of stuff. Right? I can't wait for this ride to be over, really. Let me off. I don't want to be on this ride anymore.
I mean, COVID has really, we, at the very beginning for our team, for our group, we were doing anywhere from 1 to 3 paranormal investigations a week. So we were really busy, and we had just started up the interior team, and in fact in July of last year, so we really didn't set anything up for them and paranormal investigations for them to go on. So I've got a rabid crew of individuals in the interior that just wants to get out and do some investigations. Because we'll be talking back and forth, and they say, well, we've gone by this place, and I think we've got some activity in this, so can we go? And I'm like, okay, well, we'll talk to them because we want to make sure the team was safe, but also the location was safe. And we started shutting things down as a group back in April of last year, and then literally our last investigation was October 31st. We haven't been doing any paranormal investigations again because we want to make sure that the locations and the people that allow us to come in and do investigations are safe, their people safe, their location safe, and I want to make sure that the team is in good condition. We weren't going to risk that, so our first investigation is going to be July the 10th.
Oh wow!
So,
I bet you guys are excited.
We're itching to get going. Yeah, we're itching to get going.
Yeah.
It has been super difficult.
We're starting to rebook a lot of those locations that we had to say, sorry, we're backing out as of right now, and take it from there.
It's been really hard. We do a lot of historical locations here in British Columbia, and they the people who were part of their staff got laid off. So that's been a big challenge too. That we don't know, who's going to be there when they get up and running again. But we certainly want to get out there and help them, get back on their feet. Because one of the things that we'd like to do as a group is do fundraising for these, historical sites that get some government funding, but not enough. And it's kind of a mutual relationship where they let us come in and do what we'd love to do, and then we try to find a way to give back to them by either doing a little dog and pony show that they can invite the townspeople to, or just some other way of raising money so they can get a coat of paint or do whatever they need to do. So that's been hard too.
Yeah, I mean those locations, if they charge $20 a head for people to come in and experience what it'd be like to be on an investigation. We can show our equipment. We show some best of sort of thing, and so they can witness some EVPs or some pictures or video that we've captured, some paranormal activity, and then actually be part of an investigation. Or other locations, they do like a meal involved, and they can charge like $60 a head, and then they can have an actual sit down talk and that sort of thing, and do it. Some of those sell out within 2 or 3 days. So the interest is definitely there, and we had a lot lined up for this year, but now I think there's only 1 or 2 for this year, and then everybody else it's being kicked back to fall of 2022.
Yeah, and 100% of what we raise goes direct to the facility. So we don't charge for being there or doing it. It's just, again, it's our way of giving back to them. And they've been very, very supportive of us. So that's good.
Yeah, it's been really hard for us as a team not going out and being able to do these things. And one of our team members actually got the COVID virus, and her health, and she's quite a hefty person. We were really worried about her, and she had to find a place away from her mom because she lives with her elderly mom, and she actually came through it pretty well. She came through it with flying colors, but it seems like since this all started, and even, I noticed, I think it was last year in October, an upsweep as far as the paranormal goes. Like, I think on that Halloween, I saw more ghosts in one night than I ever had, like, throughout my whole life. And then we've just been getting call after call after call with negative entities, so on and so forth. And I feel really bad because we haven't been able to go in and do anything. So I'll just like walk them through steps that they can do to clear or cleanse their house or whatnot. But it's hard not being able to get out there and help people. And like you said, with these events that you had going on, man, we're chomping at the bit to get out there.
Well, and for us, about 99% of what we do of our investigations are not residential. So don't get me wrong, we do residential, but most of our stuff are like Janine says, the historical locations, the theaters, the Johnny's barbershop. I mean, all of that sort of thing. We do those type of investigations more so than the residential. However, we've got, like you said, it's a huge uptick in I think it's because in paranormal activity, because I think that people are, because they're at home or have been at home, and they're maybe they're not going anywhere, so maybe they're noticing things more than they ever have before. It's the same with UFOs. Or even Bigfoot sightings if they are getting out and looking in the forest or going for walks with nobody else around. They're becoming more aware of their environment that they're in, and so maybe they be in their busy lives before, going back and forth and coming home and doing things, or being at the office and not, now they're more active in their hearing and making sure that things are around them, and then finding out, I'm hearing something, or geez, didn't really notice that before. So even people, look at the amount of people that have posted the videos and things like that on UFOs, and that's simply because they're maybe sitting on the deck looking up into the night sky and seeing things more so than ever before. I remember when Tesla's satellite went by, and it was there was a flurry of emails coming to us saying, or even pictures saying, I seen this in the sky tonight. So at least they were more aware of what was happening than before.
Yeah, lots of shots of Starlink for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a spaceship. No, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
it did appear very strange, and it's weird how it looks different in some parts of the world than others, perhaps due to humidity or other factors. But I watch different paranormal shows and stuff to get to sleep, and Franco TV is one of them, and he was actually, I think, up north, the northwest there near Canada, and he filmed it, and I don't know if it was his camera or what, but it definitely looked like some sort of UFO or something. But then that was the same time that the Starlink went by, and the way they're just lined up, it's pretty interesting. There was a lot of to go along with that. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think that I think that just people are taking more time with themselves, and it's so just like you getting the phone calls or getting the text messages or conversations about, I think there's more things happening in my house. I think it's just because people have more time on their hands, or have had more time on their hands. We'll see how it goes over the next. See how it goes over the next little while.
Yeah, and I was kind of wondering about it as well, like, all the fear that's been going on as far as the virus and trying to protect your family and everything. Fear feeds a lot of these things, especially negative entities. So I was like, I wonder if that has anything to do with it. But either
absolutely.
that or we're getting closer to the veil. I don't know. It's just pretty intriguing. But like you said, UFOs as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, when your veil goes down internally due to stress or things that are happening in your life, I find that most people are more susceptible to perceiving things that they may never have perceived before, for sure.
And dealing with death and that as a whole, I mean, you're more traumatic and you're more open to having feelings about things, or maybe it's something that's been buried down inside, and now you realize that, or maybe somebody has those sensitive feelings, and evolve into maybe something more. I know that we've got a couple of team members that started out like that they're, they had their feelings about things, or they'd walk into the room or sense things, and now they've taken the next step for themselves, and they're evolving. And one of our team members has done that, and we've literally watched her grow over the last 5-6 years. And because our team has come together from different teams for a number of reasons, either the way other teams were investigating, or the way they were treated, or the way customers or clients or people were treated, or anything like that. But we came together from different groups, and she's been basically with us from spot one, and to see how much she's grown with her gift has been pretty incredible. So I think that we're seeing people like that are experiencing, maybe evolving into something more than they ever thought they were before. And maybe they're more talkative about it, because what else are they going to do?
More time to meditate, because COVID, if anything else, is boring. You can't go to the movies. You just sit at home. You go, what am I going to do today? I'll meditate.
Yeah, I've been walking down since before it was cool or mandated. Like, I don't know, I prefer to stay at home, and I'll just try to go to town like once every week or once every 2 weeks or whatnot. So I'm pretty used to it, but yeah, it's been hard on a lot of people.
But I mean, it's on either the positive or negative side. It's keeping the investigations into the paranormal quite active. Okay, don't die on us.
Sorry. I think it's the Rona. I'm just kidding. Wrong pipe.
Maybe I said something made you laugh.
That was it.
Just blame me. It's usually the one. It's just like, if you're doing an EVP session and you come out and you say, oh, that was a great, and then no, it's Paul's stomach. It usually is. It's usually me.
That growl, yeah.
That growl or that bodily function. Yeah, blame it on me. I don't know why. It's usually, it's we've caught something extraordinaire. No, that's not the case. No, it's Paul.
Yeah, it's interesting with the UFOs. When Corona first started, and they're like, don't go outside, stay at home. Well, we went outside because we're pretty spaced between us and our neighbors, and we're just out there doing some yard stuff, and all of a sudden, she's 6 now, but she was 5 at the time. She's like, Mom, check it out, there's a UFO. And it was across the horse field and in a neighborhood that's called Foxfire Farms. There was a very bright, brilliant, what I saw, light, and I lost my glasses quite a while ago, so I only saw one, but she was seeing multiples. And at the very same time that we're seeing it, my daughter was actually in that neighborhood visiting a friend, and she was with a group of friends, and they said it was above them, and it was 3 different really bright sterling white orbs kind of going in a triangle formation, switching places, and then all of a sudden they stopped and then just shot off at an immense amount of speed.
Wow.
Do you think the report that's come out in your neck of the woods in the U.S. Has done anything more for ufologists and people that watch the sky?
No, I think it just really agitated and upset a lot of people, and I wasn't surprised. The government's not going to tell us what's going on, and there are countries out there that are more open about it, but for some reason they're just not sharing anything. So somebody was mentioning that perhaps the agreement that we in the U.S. have with the aliens that happened a long time ago is perhaps a longer stasis than we thought originally. But yeah, I wasn't surprised at all that about what they put in there, which was really basically nothing. They didn't say anything about, finding UFOs, doing reverse engineering or anything like that. They're saying there are things out there, but we can't say they're alien because we don't know. They could be other countries or something with more technology than us, which is, if you're going to put yourself down just to cover something up, like, that's pretty major.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, what was it, a 9-page report or something like that?
They're definitely covering themselves. It's like, we're not going to tell you that we already know, because that would just open up this magnitude of lawsuits and, things that economy crashes and things. So we're not going to go there. But, if something happens from now on, maybe we'll tell you, right? It's like, we don't know anything that happened before, but moving forward, maybe, right? That's kind of what I took out of it. It's like, yeah.
Well, it's just like, I think that one of the big things up here is Bigfoot or Sasquatch, or whichever you want to call, Bakwas. I mean, it's there's different people. Like, why aren't they found more? Or why isn't there more evidence regarding this? And Janine had a good comment about, or good thought about what they were.
Well, I just think that we have other dimensions around us. I really do. And sometimes time is different in different realities. If I can kind of say, as an example that some people will understand, is that if you have a digital camera and you're in the middle of a busy street, and you open that aperture, and you've got that camera on a tripod, and you leave it there long enough, the buildings will be there, but all the people and cars that pass by will not. Like, that's just a manipulation that the camera can do of time and space. So given that, when you think about our world and what time and space can do to us, I'm not so certain that it's not that they're not there. It's just that they're really, really fast, and we can't see them, and they're manipulating time. It's just a theory, obviously, but I'm intrigued by it more and more as time, dare I say, goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the other caveat is there was once a bridge from the Soviet Union to Alaska. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, there was actually land between the 2 points. So perhaps a form of man had crossed that bridge, and that's one of the reasons why out of anywhere else in the world, literally, the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia tends to be a hot spot for Sasquatch sightings, and so that could be. I mean, go into the forest and just you can't, for the trees. It's huge. There's so much land there that hasn't been explored, and so to get through all of that, there's got to be things that we or beings that we haven't seen.
I'm being a little facetious here, but maybe Chewbacca isn't such a stretch.
Right?
Who knows? Maybe he's onto something. That George Lucas guy. Who knows?
Yeah, I've heard people talking about aliens and Sasquatch being in league because they've seen Sasquatch walk onto a UFO or whatever. But I mean, I've heard stories about people that were walked onto UFOs by aliens, and they weren't friends. They were actually being taken on there to be tested or whatnot. But yeah, there's so much stuff out there, even creatures that have not been discovered, like Sasquatch, which I think they know about Sasquatch anyways. But so many different things that are still to be discovered. There's so much stuff out there we don't even know. It's pretty interesting that NASA, we were actually, exploring our seas, and all of a sudden we quit doing that and instead decided to go into space. So it makes you wonder, what's in the ocean? Where are they running from?
Especially off the coast of San Diego, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I like up here in Canada. I mean, you've got the Shag Harbor incident, which is, it's like your Roswell. I mean, it's where a UFO crashed into the ocean just off of Nova Scotia. So
1967, yeah, and apparently an Air Canada commercial jet saw it and reported it. So yeah, that's our famous UFO story up here. Shag Harbor.
Shag Harbor. Look it up.
Look it up.
Yeah.
And ask your secretary to Google. Shag Harbor, 1967.
Oh, wow. I have a friend trying to call in right now. I was like, hey, we're doing a show right now. Did you have a question for the guest? Because she's trying to call in with a friend. But, yeah, it's amazing, like, when pilots or, people that work for the Air Force or different people like that say that they've seen UFOs. I mean, these people are in the know. They know what's out there in the air. And when they say that, like, it's pretty interesting.
Well, why would you lie or fib or make it up? Yeah. Why would you make that story up? I mean,
risk your career, risk your pension.
Does it do anything for you?
Yeah.
No. Does it? Does it? Because most of your people that you work with, your employer, they'll think you're off the wagon. So why would you
put everything at risk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting your job in jeopardy.
I mean, you look at Bob Lazar did, and he just gets laughed at, right? So it's a perfect example of somebody who's like, no, there's something going on, and you're nuts, right? So I love Bob Lazar. I'm a believer of Bob Lazar. I'm not so much a believer of the Patterson-Gimlin film. I know that drives people crazy, right? Yeah, they re-engineered stuff, but no, that was a guy in an ape suit or a woman in an ape suit on Sasquatch.
But when you sit down with people, we've done that for a few, to talk about Sasquatch and get their stories about it, and whether or not it's and what they've experienced and how they've experienced and what's happened to them. Take a look, like you're face to face with these people and you're talking to them, and they come out and they're you can see and tell their emotions when they're telling the story.
They're very, very prevalent on totem poles in the Pacific Northwest, the Sasquatch.
Yeah, if you look at the bottom of the totem poles and look at it, generally what's at the bottom is what they call the buckwats or the Sasquatch, and whether it's female or whether it's male, and it's holding up the rest of that totem pole. That's kind of cool. Those are things we found out when we were talking with an individual that does a lot of fishing, hunting up in North Vancouver Island, and we haven't made it to his spot yet, but we've been invited to the Longhouse and go through it, but he takes people out to the sites where he's seen the Sasquatch, and the grounds where they're hunting and fishing, and especially certain times of the year when certain animals are out, and what they tend to eat. It's kind of it's really, really interesting. We have a member on our team that his home sits close to the forest, and he can hear the knocking on the trees in an area where Sasquatch is being seen, and or they've got footprints or evidence that way of what they've seen. So, hi Gary, if you're watching.
Yeah.
Hi Gary. Have you guys gone out to investigate to see if you could find any evidence, marks on trees, footprints, anything like that?
Not yet. We do have, again, there's a couple of locations that we've been invited to come up in, and that's going to be on our things to do list. We have done more in the way of ghost, spirits, entities, energy, that type of investigation more than anything else, but there is some places that we definitely want to get into, and where we've had conversations with people that know the area well. Because if I go into a forest, I'm going to get lost, and then you'll be looking for me. So we want to make sure that we have the proper people along that know the area well, that know the stories well, that can engage and teach us more about the environment than what we know, because that's just the way it is. If people go wandering off into the forest, or and maybe they're hearing things or seeing things by themselves that aren't really Sasquatch per se. It's like, the knocking in the walls of a house, and it's really not. It's the mice that are going through the walls. It's not really something paranormal that way.
Yeah.
So.
We think that we're so civilized, but we actually rented an RV and drove from Vancouver to Alaska about a decade ago. And let me tell you, coming down from, going down to Anchorage or over to Valdez, it's like driving through Jurassic Park, the wilderness. It is so beautiful. And it's just tree and tree and mountain and tree and mountain and tree, and like anything could be there.
Well hidden.
Well hidden. Yeah.
Because the amount of civilization or people living around certain areas is scarce. So why wouldn't there be there? So we've got some invitations, and yes, we are going to be going, but it's just it hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
We've interviewed and talked with people that have had experiences, so and seen their a reaction and listened to their stories, and it's pretty interesting. There's if you ever get a chance, and I'm going to plug in for him, but his name is Thomas Seawood, and he's a gentleman up in and he runs a page called Sasquatch Island. And if you ever get a chance to do some, to just even look at some of the stories and tales, I would highly recommend your viewers or your listeners to take a peek at that, because he's got some pretty interesting encounters for sure, 100%.
I would love to see it to go on a UFO hunt, but they just don't appear to me like they appear to some people, right? And I have messed with your Army bases down in Oregon, and I'm not messing with them again. We're on vacation there once. We pull up, and there's a guard gate there in Klamath Falls in Oregon, and we're like, when are the B-52s coming in? Because we want to see them. This is, say, a Tuesday, and there goes, come back at Thursday at 2 p.m. That's when they're coming in. You can see them. Don't know what happened in the world between Tuesday and Thursday, but we pull up again in front of the base on Thursday, and this guy comes at us with a machine gun. And he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, the guy told me to come back to see the B-52s. He goes, how do you know they're coming in today? I'm like, he told us. I've got like my hands up. I'm like, well, look at our plates. We're Canadian. We're not going to do anything. It's just he told us to come back. It was a totally different guy. So, not going on the base to find them. Not going to Area 51 and going over that fence. No.
Yeah, what is it with that? I mean, there was that big hoopla about Area 51 not that terribly long ago about Facebook people were going to go in and storm Area 51. That never did come together, did it?
They came to their senses.
No, not very well. And there was some stuff set up as far as like stands that are selling T-shirts, underwear. I saw all kinds of different things being sold. There was a guy that imitates Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that main character, and he was there. And the paranormal lawyer, Michael Hall, he went there and did some live videos, so I got to kind of live vicariously through them, because ain't no way I'm going to go down there and put my life in jeopardy. But not as many people showed up as was said, and it was still like an interesting experience for everybody, I think, but it didn't turn out quite the way everybody thought.
It's so intriguing, the whole lore behind that area, and the Janet plane going in every day, and it's a fascinating story. Well,
answer me this: is like your area, you do have a lot of bases, and do you find that there's more activity around those type of centers than anywhere else for UFOs or for unknown things happening?
Yeah, the closest one I know about is in Colorado Springs, and we have not gone up there to check it out, but most UFO sightings I've had here are from my very own yard. On the 26th of May, my friend Mia and I, she's a member of my team, she's our psychic medium for the team, and she and I, we were going to go investigating at the cemetery because it's a safe, open place where we're allowed to go. But she had to watch a dog that night, so we went to her place, and we're roaming around the property, and we're looking for, paranormal stuff, and all of a sudden I turn around and I see this UFO, and I sent you pictures of it, Janine, on Messenger just a little while ago, so if you want to check those out. But I turn around and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And at first it was at a distance, just coming over the horizon, and if it was going like this way, definitely Starlink, but it just kept getting closer and closer and closer to us, and it was angled to the side. I was just waiting for any moment that beam to come down and suck us up, but we got some really good pictures of it, and it was immense.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, we were looking for paranormal, and we found a dang UFO. It was intense.
I'm jealous of two things. I'm jealous that you have the UFOs. I'm also jealous that I hear thunder in your background, because we very rarely get a thunderstorm up here, so yeah.
Aww.
People go running in the streets with the thunder. I know it's weird. The lightning comes and people go running out of the house to look at it. It's bizarre.
Yeah, we finally got some rain. It feels like forever since it's rained.
Well, I used to sit on the steps and watch the greenish type clouds coming in, because you knew that you're going to A, get hit with a whole bunch of rain, or B, there's going to be a hailstorm.
Or a tornado.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But we've got a member of our team as well that actually gave us or told us a story about his own personal experience in watching Troy, watching a UFO, and what had transpired when he was with his family camping in the interior of British Columbia. And he wasn't near anybody or anything, and they had set up their tent. And he, for one reason or another, he couldn't sleep, and he walked outside and he watched a display of a UFO. Well, there was multiple UFOs, but it started out as one, and then it broke into three, and then came back as one. Same thing, same. It's a personal story and an adventure or event that you can't. Again, it's hard to make that stuff up, and I believe him emphatically because not because he's a member of my team, but again, his facial features and how he was telling it was like so serious about what had happened to him. Those things you can't throw away. You can't throw away those individual feelings and those individual moments when something has transpired. And it's really hard for some people to talk about experiences, and that's one of the things on our Facebook page is we try to get people to talk about their
what they've experienced. Yeah.
Because then everybody else will say, well, I've had something similar to what happened to me, and because we have members from around the world, it's really interesting for them to talk about it and share some information back and forth. It's hard, even in when you're talking about ghosts and spirits and things like that. If you've experienced it as a child, okay, and I firmly believe that the children, animals can sense and feel and see things that we can't see. So if you've experienced something as a kid growing up, and you talk to somebody about it, like your best friend or your parents, they automatically dismiss it. And so you keep that inside until maybe you have the ability to talk about it with people with the same likes and values, that you're able to give out or talk about your emotions and what had happened, and then have that solidified by somebody else in a completely different part of the world is really cool. I think that then you can, it's like a release, and I think that's really really vital, because if you can't talk about it and you keep those stories or those things that happen to you, regardless whether it's a UFO, whether it's a Sasquatch encounter, whether it's a paranormal ghost encounter, if you keep that bottled up, it's going to affect you in the fact that, geez, you start questioning whether you're sane or not, whether you have gone off the deep end or not. But if you have that ability to talk about it, it's just like people listening to your show. If there's something that you talk about, or a story that people can hang on to, then maybe they can say, geez, that's interesting. I don't feel as weird as I did half an hour ago. And I think that's really, really important in everything that we do. Because
we even find when people ask us, about our hobby, everybody's got to have a hobby, which is this paranormal thing, is that there's two reactions. It's either one, you're nuts, or two, I've got a story for you. Right? Yeah. There's no kind of in between. It's like one or the other, and you find out pretty quick which one it is, right?
Yeah. And like you were saying, Paul, like growing up as a kid and telling your family, you expect them to support you and back you up. A lot of times they're like, nothing's happening, it's just your imagination. And I do believe that there's paranormal PTSD. Like, I suffered through it as a kid. I couldn't really talk to anybody because if I told kids at school or whatever, they'd be like, stay away from her, she's crazy. So fear of judgment and ridicule, and that kept me from even really talking to people about this until 2012. Dylan Redwine went missing, and I was like, man, I just really want to help this mom find her kid, and so that's how we started our paranormal group in 2012. Was due to a loss in our community, and I was just like, I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I'm going to come out and I'm going to do this. And then when I started doing this show, it's just so awesome that there's so many people in the chat room and beyond that do share their stories, and it's a comfortable place for people with different experiences or same experiences, or I don't know, it's kind of like a form of therapy. You can actually talk about it and not fear that judgment and ridicule. Is so very important, I think, especially for kids who are trying to wrap their minds around this.
100%. I mean, if like you say, if you can't talk about it, then you do have that, like you say, PTSD. You're bottling up an emotion, basically, and it is a release to actually know that there's other people that have the same type of story or similar type of experience. I do believe a lot of the investigations we go on, people need to know whether or not it's real or if it's something else. We did an investigation at this restaurant, and there, if you go into ghosts in Vancouver and things like that, it's named as a place that's got paranormal activity. That there's sounds of a body being dragged across the roof of this place, and that they continually hear footsteps and things like that. And this story has been around for years. And so a new owner took over this place. And we had been talking about his other location, but he said, I'd like you to come in and see what was happening and what was, because some of his staff were still feeling a little iffy about, working in a place that's haunted. And we came in with our equipment and our people and did the investigation, and never found anything. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't something there, because there was one of the bartenders always felt weird around his station, and anybody else who went there always felt something that was watching them or anything like that. So we paid more attention around that particular station and found a lot of hits of our EMF detectors there. So little bit further investigation on it, behind the wall is a compressor unit. Well, a compressor unit gives off a hell of a lot of EMF. So, tend that this particular person that worked there, that really complained a lot of, is sensitive to those type of movements, those type of energy. So they switched his position, and sure enough, he's feeling fine and enjoying what he's doing, and everything's okay. So when I gave the report or talked back with the owner about what we found, he was more relieved about the fact that we've had, and I've talked to him since then, and we always communicate back and forth saying, hey, is anything further happened or anything like that? And he's always come back no. Which is good, because then he's told his staff, look, we had this paranormal group in, and they did their thing, and they didn't find anything at that time. So for a lot of people there, I think that that apprehension about something being paranormal, or there's a ghost in the wall, or there's going to be a body dragged across, or there's footsteps, suddenly changed. And now they're not perceiving that event's going to happen. So that's sort of a reverse story about what we're talking about, but it can also put people at ease if you can make them know about what's happening or anything like that in their house. I think that's true of majority of the places that we go to is they just, or they know that something's there. we were at another location, and the reason I laugh is because it's one of our favorite locations, and we were invited in, and we talked to the manager that was there, and also the director of entertainment there, and so we said, okay, well, where's the hot spots? What's happening in this place? And he looked at me stone faced and he says, I'm not going to tell you. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. And he says, you go do your thing and then come back and talk to me afterwards. And I'm like, okay. So we took the team and we walked. This is 3-story. Well, if you include the basement, there's 2 stories in the basement. So, and we did our thing, and we came back to him, and we found certain areas had more energy and more. We got some, on whether you believe in the SLS or not, we got some activity that way. We got some EVPs. We came back to him and he said, okay, there's 7 entities in this building, and here's the locations that we feel that they're
hanging out in,
exactly,
for lack of a better word.
And he looked at us and he said, you're bang on, and which made us feel a hell of a lot better about what we were doing. Mm-hmm. But it also was very, very cool, and we've gone back there several times, and each and every time we've gone, I think they get whatever entities are there. I think they become more comfortable with us being there. So because they don't know us from the hole in the ground when we first come in, but I think as you go back to some of these locations, we go to a historical place, and it's the same thing. When we first went there, we got a little bit. And then tell her about the person walking behind you, and with the chair.
Oh yeah. Go on. Yeah. So I actually made the mistake of there's a noise behind me of what I perceived to be a little girl moving a chair behind me, and I said something to the fact that she was young or whatever. And I didn't hear it at the time, but listening back on the audio later, she screamed at me just like this huge right, and I'm like, oh, she's a teenager, and I just called her a kid. And so the next time we went there, I was very careful to say, okay, I get it. I insulted you. You're not a young child. You're older than that. And yeah, but she was very vocal, very vocal.
Wow.
We call Janine the dog whisperer because she generally I figure any investigation we go to that happens to have an animal spirit, mm-hmm. they tend to hang around Janine.
Yeah, they like to come up and nudge my arm just like a live dog does. I'll be sitting down and then my elbow starts to go and I'm like, oh, there's that dog here.
Or we get an EVP of a whimpering dog or a bark or anything like that. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, you guys, we do have to go to our first musical break. So on this break, we have Griff with Let Freedom Ring. We also have Chico with Juice and Last Forever, as well as Roy Washington, who is our musical host, and he donates all of his music to us. And he's going to be singing Subliminal. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.
Here's the scoop, you can still be a slave, you're whipped and loop, that's the truth, got big houses, nice cars, that's real cute, but it doesn't mean nothing, you ain't free to choose. When I say free to choose, no alarm clock, don't gotta hit the snooze, the world is backwards, I'm so confused, they say freedom of speech, but when you speak your mind, they blow a fuse, just being honest, common sense and common, it's kind of ironic, my freedom, I recently bought it, now I'm a target, if I do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing, come on man, let freedom ring, yeah. mistakes become divided states. The world is filled with all kinds of shades, and still resegregate. Parents separate from the children, that's not okay. We should be free to laugh and play. Do it now, before you pass away. Fight for what's right, enough for everybody to get a piece of the pie. Brainwash, social media, full of lies. Go to work, pay bills, then you die. Need a breakaway, guns, get rid of the AKs. Our ancestors paved way since the slave days, but we still hurting. Carry that burden, stop playing victim, beat the system. Love is love, it should be shown. Can't grow unless you leave your comfort zone. This I know, I learned all this from the mentorship. Kids don't know what independent is. Take advantage what your parents did. Go against the grid, you have to. Like going to the bathroom, learn the right songs, cause of Matthew. Liberty like statue, they call now the present, cause it's a gift. It should be cherished, last name fearless, not Harris. All thanks to my parents' parents. Now, love the last name every time that I hear it, cause I know what it represents. Climb the fence, so now I got freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing. Freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing.
Pull up like Huggies, they love me. Pull up like Huggies, cause I'm the shit. MC she hammer, can't touch. Off that fifth hand like I slice a chicken, I was practicing. I'm a mathematician, call me Michael Bibbins. I'm a new addition, not a Buddhist. Don't wear true religion, yeah, I spit a lot. Like my tooth is missing, and she gave me. Now her roof is missing, I'm the bomb, baby. Now the proof is ticking, be calm, baby. We in a new dimension.
I think I got juice. I think I'm that hitter. They say I'm the man. I say, how do you feel, girl? I think I'm the I think I'm that hitter. They say I'm the man. I say, how do you feel, girl? Turn up.
Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip. Don't let drip, don't let drip, don't let drip.
Juice.
Yeah. Come on.
I see you, Roy Washington, man. What's happening, man?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. They never say it in words, but in deeds wars declared. Justice is gone and the sight's none is spared. Especially the kingdom encased in melanin. But these suckers are weak, kings and queens will ride again. Come on. Slackers with badges, the white sheets and the maggots. Watch them fall as I tag them because I'm better than average. A sharp shooter with words with my eye to the scope. Can they escape when I don the black cape? Is hell no. I'm a ninja for right, who can vanish from sight. Pick you off in the night, but still the Lord is my light. Perceiving all you see, the truth behind the scenes. Instead of jumping bandwagons, the light says believe in me. Cause you're a puppet, no doubt. 45th turned you out. Though I saw your lips moving, no sound came out. So I was sent from the heavenlies, born so you could find me. Swam the scene and stream, took flight during the 90s. Landed in Grace, wrote a verse of hip hop. Got with Jay and found the taste was smooth as butterscotch. We had hood love and money problems, they be on me, but we stayed in the flow and had juice like Manolo.
They can try to oppress, you can try to impress. I'm just after success, none less. You can look in my eyes, you can feel in my vibes. King down inside and it's so sentimental. I got God on my side, I ain't worried about none. If it ain't about money, then it ain't about none. Laughing at my enemies, I know they see me coming. If it ain't subliminal, they can't even see me. Politics and abolish it. I'm here to raise the consciousness for every face and race up in this nation trapped in poverty. Diamond in the rough, need to cut, shape it and polish it. Bad thoughts cripple life, we can be an optimist. We can be an optimist, reconstruct apocalypse. Broke people always hating, mix me with that gossiping. Rose up in the concrete, rain and sun, I'm blossoming. My people need to be like kind of Velcro, then we conquering. They can try to oppress, you can try to impress. I'm just after success, none less. You can look in my eyes, you can feel in my vibes. King down inside and it's so sentimental. I got God on my side, I ain't worried about none. If it ain't about money, then it ain't about none. Laughing at my enemies, I know they see me coming. If it ain't subliminal, they can't even see me coming.
The 45th is a joke, and he's weak in disgust. He plans to divide, but there's no stopping us. If we have to fight, go toe to toe for our lives, we prevail in God's sight, cause only light I recite. I blow my lyrics like a shotgun, camouflaged inside the tracks. Now watch the suckers run. Not moving fast enough, hands up, now here I come. I designed 50 ways to make this murder fun. I spit the lyrical rain that coat the concrete, that give life and take form. Arise and walk the street. Am I the greatest to spit? Feel the spray and we'll see. Let it dry, all the lies and the truth will point to me. Even when surrounded by a million MCs, I'm the one under the sun who's the greatest of these. I got the Holy Ghost juking and tapping while I'm rapping. Sticking and moving like Roy Jones, I'll make it happen. Even animals move when the novelist is rocking. My doggy started barking, his ears just a flopping. Subliminally, I penetrate camps like an enemy. Flicking the lights, cancel sight, cause you're not seeing me.
They can try to oppress, you can try to impress. I'm just after success, none less. You can look in my eyes, you can feel in my vibes. Live a king down inside. And it's so sentimental. I got God on my side, I ain't worried about none. If it ain't about money, then it ain't about none. Laughing at my enemies, I know they see me coming. If it ain't subliminal, they can't even see me coming. Last forever. The rain never, rain never, rain never, rain never, rain never. It lasts forever. rain never lasts forever. The rain never lasts forever. The rain never lasts forever. The rain never lasts forever. I know it's ain't shit. You're tired of the games. You're tired from all the hurt. You're tired from all the pain. Put your trust in all these lames, but that wasn't your aim. Tied they true colors down the line. Them change. They words don't meet they actions. Loyalty what they lacking. Tell them to stop the slacking. Mama, you know nobody's practice. The rain never lasts forever. 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 I swear to God, I know these ruthless. What type of king will make they queen look stupid? Childish games when I'm grown. You want somebody you can call your own. Indifferent than your phone. When you asking me, act like you wrong. Your heart say stay when your patience gone. When y'all together, you still feel alone. Yeah, the rain never lasts forever. 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 Lasts forever. The rain never lasts forever.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we are joined by Miss Janine McCaw as well as Mr. Paul Busch. Welcome back, guys, and thanks so much for coming on the show tonight.
Hey, having a great time.
Absolutely, not a problem.
We just want to give it a shout out. We see one of our friends, Nick Daly from Beyond Paranormal there, so just sign it.
Nice. Welcome, Nick.
Hi. Texas.
If you ever get a chance, check him out. He does a para-unity chat, so he's which is really well liked these days. I mean, para-unity is one thing, but you got to make sure that that everybody has the same goals and values in place, not just me, myself, and I.
Yeah. Plus, Nick taught me how to build an SLS, so there's that too.
That's awesome. I had to pay a lot of money for mine. But we also...
If you ask him nice, he'll actually, post it for you, send you all the things, and
software,
it's pretty cool. Janine's built 2 of them, so, and then of course we have another SLS from Chaplin, so we have 3 in the group, and which makes it 1 stationary, 1 and 2 mobile, so it makes it kind of interesting for that. I mean, when you can do it, again, we had talked off air a little bit, Tess, about equipment, how you can talk about different, all pieces of equipment can be torn apart, for lack of a better word. But if you can utilize an SLS and you can get something that's not there, and it's not a tree or a coat rack or things like that, and it actually interacts with you, I think that makes it a worthwhile tool.
Very much so. Me and I had an experience with that same night we had that UFO sighting, and we went to a part of her property behind the house, and there was a very big, I think it was an elemental in one of the trees there. And when we were going behind her house, walking towards it, I saw it peek out from behind the tree with the SLS, and then as we got around the tree, we didn't see it anymore. So then we went up and we got the shit scared out of us by this bird that nested on the ground. That was a nice influx of adrenaline. And then when we were going back, there it was in the tree, and this thing was very large. But speaking of Mia, we have Mia and her friend on the line.
Hi, Mia.
Hi, Mia.
And friend.
And friend, yes, sorry.
Are they still there? Did we lose them? We might have. But yeah, it was very intriguing, and at one point, this thing had crawled, yeah, it just shows that she left. It had crawled down from the tree onto Mia, and then it looked like it was like crawling up her or trying to crawl back up into the tree. And I didn't say anything to her as far as what I was seeing, and all of a sudden she said, "Man, I just feel like really nauseous right now. I feel really sick to my stomach." And I was like, well, it's funny you say that, because the thing that was in the tree jumped down onto you, and then it was doing like this movement, like it was trying to climb you to get back up in the tree. Even though this thing was so large, I don't think it had to. I think it was just doing something to her, and it made her feel sick to her stomach. So we got out of that area, and if we ever investigate out there again, we're not going into that area, because I think it is some sort of elemental or something that's protecting that portion of the property for some apparent reason. That was pretty strange.
We had a couple of reactions with sorry, it's my chair that's squeaking. It's not me.
No worries. Sure, Paul.
Blame Paul. It's okay. We had a couple of reactions with the SLS. It's quite interesting. I'll let Janine tell the story about her reaction, but I want to talk about we had done a fundraiser for, now we had caught some stuff on the SLS before, but we had done a fundraiser for a local theater here, and it was really interesting. We followed all COVID protocols on it. It was done in July of last year, and the area that we had captured SLS activity with, and it was really unique because we had caught the entity up against the wall. We had an individual holding a K2 and a temperature sensor in the same area. Temperature sensor went down. SLS had an entity. Entity reached out to the K2 meter. K2 meter went off. And then it was doing all sorts. It would, because of theater, it's a theater for entertainment. There was dancing, vaudeville, everything in this particular theater. It would actually dance. And so we would comment about, oh, are you dancing or anything like that? And sure enough, it would do different things. Whether or not it was the beams that were coming out that was trying to capture a modified individual out there, but still, when we had the fundraiser, we split into different teams, and people would come around to different areas, and we'd show them different types of equipment and things like that. In this particular area, we had an SLS set up, and sure enough, people would go on the other side of the SLS, and they'd do their stick figure, and our guest would show up. And this would happen to be an area where a woman was always seen and or felt, and this entity would reach out and actually get close to their hands. They absolutely had a cold spot right there. And so this entity had on the SLS had interactions with different individuals, and so that's a really unique experience for people that never have experienced that before. So, and then Janine had one.
His this one stick man, for lack of a better word, his leg was straight, and they kept keeping it straight. I said, "Is there something wrong with your leg, your back leg? It's straight." And just as I said that, he bends it. And then we said, "Can you raise your arm and knock on the wall?" And the hand came up and did a knocking motion. So that's when you got to go, okay, that's not just some
anomaly
being picking up a chair of somebody that's sitting there that's not there. This is something that's actually responding to a request.
And that was in a completely empty ballroom. So there was nothing, no chairs, there was nothing and the place there was off a wall. So there was nothing there for the SLS to pick up something else. But again, it's just like every other piece of equipment. It depends on your reaction. It depends on how you use it and what's involved.
Yeah, and you have to be aware of like reflections off of a window. I'm hearing my voice again. If you can turn it down just a little bit. The dreaded voice. No, it's so funny. Like, I don't know, people love the sound of my voice, but I think everyone as an individual really, they don't dig their own voice. I don't know if you guys have that same experience, but yeah, it really weirds me out. But yeah, glass or like, a stainless steel object or something like that, you can get a reflection of yourself and it could show up as a stick figure.
Exactly. That's that one ghost show that we all know when they're like, oh my god, there's a entity in the mirror. It's like, no, you crazy person, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But yeah, you have to rule those things out.
It was super funny as far as the SLS goes. Before they even came out with those, we had the Kinect on our Xbox, and we'd play those sport games and such, and it was really fun. But we did have a paranormal experience on ours. My house is very haunted. It came with one ghost, but we have random ghosts coming and going all the time. But the kids are playing, and I'm sitting there watching, and all of a sudden this smaller figure shows up to the left of them, and they're like, what the heck is that? So that was pretty intriguing. Nothing there to reflect it or whatnot. And then there's actually a couple times that we weren't even using it, and it started to like scry, like to move throughout the room as far as like panning the area. So we ended up unplugging it and putting it away. And I can't find it to this day, but I'm pretty sure I'll come back across it unless one of our old roommates took it. But it'd be intriguing to set that up and see how that works in here, especially with all the activity we get.
Yeah, not a problem. I mean, it's just like everything else. It all depends on like I said, it's depends on how people use it and how. I mean, it's just like the spirit box, and I mean, it's you've.
Yay, Bill Hauser!
Hello, Mr. Bill. He's
Love
come
Bill.
He's come on a number of investigations with us, and we were very fortunate to have had him with that. And it was really unique. At one location, he was set up, and we had some guests there, and he wasn't getting a lot of activity on his spirit box. And then there was 3 mediums that walked over to him. And then suddenly the chit chat went up like 100%. It was really unique. That something must have been around the people that came over to him that wasn't there before. So
I think your equipment reacts to you too. I know that sounds kind of crazy. Like some people get, good results from an Ovilus, and all I get is demon. I'm like, it's not a demon.
Wow, demon.
But what works best for me? What works best for me is a dollar store copy of Peter Pan. And I'll sit in a dark room and I'll read Peter Pan, and you watch that SLS pick up entities coming to listen to the story.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. Highly recommend it. Just go get a kid's book. Yeah.
Like you were saying with Bill, and I've said this to him before, I don't think it's just your ghost box. I think it's you as an individual running this ghost box, because I think it could be anyone else in the world that's not Bill using it, and you won't get what Bill gets. I think there's something about him that he attracts this energy, no matter how far across the world it is. It just blows my mind every time what comes through. And we found so many answers for family members and stuff looking for answers. It's just amazing. I get all weepy about it, but yeah, it's very amazing, and I don't know, pulls on the heartstrings.
Yeah, well, then I mean, it all depends. We use in our own group. It's we don't have we have a different amount of different types of equipment. And it's always the point, like I said, we have a lot of people, but if you're going somewhere, we can always say, hey, can I use your whatever? And so we can go into it. But it also is the individuals. We are very fortunate that we have a lot of talented people with gifts, mediums, psychics, and that, where we can go in both with the equipment, but we can go in with the mental side of it. And when you're doing the investigation, you might be going down one path, and then suddenly they'll come up with a different type of questioning, and you'll change the path because we're flexible that way. And then you find out that, you were right to ask that particular question. We were in another spot, and it was a really unique, I know we talk about fundraisers a lot, but it's kind of interesting when we do them, where a gentleman by the name of Kevin was involved, and I'll let...
Yeah, so one of our members, Jude, is very in tune, and we're at this historical homestead, that's a good word, and she's sensing around, and she's going, I get a sense of a Kevin. And I start to laugh. I'm like, Kevin? God, Jude, shouldn't it be Elizabeth or Henry or John? She's like, no, Kevin. I'm like, okay, you got this pretty modern name in amongst this centuries old house. So flash forward to a fundraiser we're doing, and I'm telling that story to this one group that were in the house at the time, and there's this hush. And this woman hits the man beside her, and he goes, I'm Kevin. And I said, no, we're looking for Kevin, and then the name of this homestead. He goes, no, I'm Kevin, and that name, this is my grandfather's house. So,
did not know he was coming.
Didn't know he was coming. She'd picked it out months ago, and I mocked her. I mocked her for Kevin. And there was Kevin. So, you got to respect people's talents, because sometimes you don't see it right away, but it sure shows up later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you in your particular group or team, do you find that if you go in some investigations you go into, you're with those that have those type of psychic or mental or mediumship abilities, that they will actually feel things or feel a sense of what's going to happen before they even get there? Do you have that in your team?
Yeah, we didn't start off with Mia. She actually, we refer to her as a snowbird because she had a place in Arizona that she was living, and then she'd come up here during the summer and then go back down there during the winter. But she'd contacted me through our website and was like, hey, I really love the paranormal and I'm a psychic medium. And it's funny, like, she doesn't like to use those terms, and that's just like me. Like, I don't advertise being psychic, but I pick up on so much stuff. Like, I'd prefer to go into a place cold and see what I pick up, and then have that backed up by their stories and things that are happening, and like you said before, like locations of activity and such. But yeah, at the same time that you're picking up on something, then your equipment does as well, and people kind of poo-poo equipment and make fun of it, and they even say that a lot of these things are just like using a Ouija board, which I find it quite a bit different. It is connecting to the other side, but I think there's just something about Ouija boards that I really don't like. But it's so nice to have that backup. I love to have equipment to back up what you're picking up on, back up what you're feeling, and to kind of, coagulate all of this information to come up with an answer. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, because you never know what's going to hit or what's going to come out of an investigation, and that doesn't matter where you are, because it could be one of the individuals that's on your team that gets that feeling. I mean, the reason I asked you that is we were going to another paranormal investigation, and it has had a lot of activity, and there's been a lot of tragedies that's happened around this particular location. And 3 of our team, before they even got there, started feeling ill, and that started feeling that thing. And when they walked into the place, they said, there's going to be activity tonight, and there was activity tonight. Even before we set up all our equipment, we had, we were testing out some stuff before, we put it in locations. We had a couple K2 meters and a REM pod sitting on the table just in the lobby, while we're unpacking equipment, and suddenly it starts going off. And so we knew right then and there that something was with us. And we found that throughout the entire building, which is, again, it solidifies what happened to our team members coming into it. We do have another team member that actually will not, and she's a psychic medium, and she does not, like yourself, she does not want to know what's happening when she goes into a place. She wants to go in there cold. And she'll take a notebook with her, and she'll sit in an area, and then she'll write all her thoughts down, or what she's getting from the location on this book. And then as we go through the investigation, and then she'll put the book away. We go through investigation, and then when we're talking afterwards, while we're packing up, then she'll go through her notes on what she's felt or contacted with. And that's really cool, because when you hit those certain notes, the hairs come up on your, like just now, the hairs come up on your arm, and you're really in tune with what's just happened. And it's sort of, you get both ends of the stick.
Yeah. I think Tessa might know that particular individual.
Oh, do you know
Paisley Town?
Paisley Town?
Yes.
There you go.
And there you go. There's another of our team members. So we're fortunate with her and coming out to our locations when she can. When she can. That's the operative word, when she can. So
she's very busy.
Yeah.
Yes,
very much so. Yeah, no, good person. Warm.
Yeah, I kept trying to get her on my show, and she just didn't have any openings or whatever. And she's like, try this person or this person. But yeah, she's working a regular job, then doing all the psychic stuff, and I completely get it. You know, sometimes you can only take so much, otherwise you just overwhelm yourself, and things can just go really haywire.
It's a big emotional drain too, right? It's like when you're constantly reading. It's a big
Your
toll.
call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Hello.
480
Oh my goodness.
30895 is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press
Janine,
1
got
for
your
more
number.
options.
I got your number.
We got your number.
8675309.
I'm sorry.
I actually use that on for my character on Xbox to do different things, because my old thing wasn't working and everything I tried wasn't working, so I just put my name with 8675309 behind it, because I'm like, I ain't gonna forget this.
It's hilarious. We were talking about music. We had we were investigating this one location, and it was beautiful. And one of our team her name's Jude, and she's the one I've been talking about, where her talents have grown exponentially. We walked through the kitchen to go to the downstairs, and it's a commercial kitchen, and so she actually had her recorder on, and we go through and we do a session down in the basement, and there were some different types of activity, but that's another story. But going back through it, there's someone sings to her, or sings on the recorder, "Hey Jude." So
Oh wow!
that was well, creepy and amazing at the same time,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
you had the name of the person and somebody singing to her, and that happened in the kitchen. So where they've had some activity. Things moving and so on and so forth. So whether or not somebody was just trying to get her attention, I don't know. But that was when you get those hits, it's sort of like hitting the home run. When you're talking to people, I'm talking to you know what I'm talking about. But for your listeners, it's sort of like watching paint dry a lot of times.
Right? I know, it's not as exciting as the shows portray it. There's a lot of monotony.
No.
But I still love it.
We don't have the time or a week to edit half an hour show.
Right.
But it's when you get that one thing out of that, how many hours you're there, It's what makes your blood boil. It makes you excited about what you're doing as a paranormal investigator, and I think that's so cool. Janine had a hit in the basement of a historic place where a little girl seemed to talk to her.
Yeah, they were. All the equipment was going off, the bells, the whistles, the REM-pod, the K2s, and like, it's a kid. And so, I said at one point something like, you see, come towards this, you see the colors make, it's not going to hurt you. And again, we didn't hear it then, but playing back the audio later, this little voice goes, no! So I was like, there we go, there's the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or doing the investigation in church and having your digital recorders. I think for equipment-wise, I think the digital recorder is probably the best piece of equipment that anybody, other than yourself, is best piece of equipment anybody can invest in. And you don't have to invest a gazillion dollars in order to get a half-decent digital recorder. Mm-hmm. But we were in a church, and the church bell had been put away because of structure and that. It's still an active church, but we kept on hearing church bells. Yep. Which was, pretty amazing.
One of the other things that happened is churches are pretty active, and there was a REM-pod there, and I said, can I get an amen? And it went off. I go, can I get another amen? And it went off again. So that was kind of cool, for sure.
What do you guys think about churches that have been abandoned?
Well, or not active? Or
not
used for a service anymore?
Yeah, it used to be a church, but then, that church moved somewhere else, and so now, it's for sale, or there's a family living in it, or whatnot. Like, to me, it seems like a magnet. This used to be hollowed ground, it no longer is, and there's so many negative things that can sometimes go in there. I had an experience walking through a house because it was for sale, and it come to find out later it was an old church, but right as soon as I walked in there, I wasn't feeling good. As I walked up the stairs, I was getting the stabbing pain in my head, and it would not go away until I walked back out of the house. And then I found out it used to be a church, so it just kind of made sense to me that perhaps these things had always wanted to be in there, and now they can because it's no longer hollowed ground, it's just open.
Well, we go. Well, it was again. It's a historical site, but it's got one of the oldest churches in British Columbia there, and it's an active church. Like, not persons coming in active, but spirit-wise active, and it's. I think I agree with you. It's just like there's another church that we go to where it's an active church. Like physically active, when people go to church there and everything else like that. But it's really, really active for spirits wise. And it's because, and Cindy's I think she's watching us through here and listening to us tonight. But
it's a very spiritual church.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of mediums and different faiths, different practices, Wicca, the whole,
So they'll invite people or spirits to come in to be part of that church, but they don't tell them to go away. And so it's a pretty active location. There's a lot of things happening in that particular church. But I think that I agree with you. I think that it's just like your house, Tessa, and you have transients coming through. I think it's a lot of it is. Let me change the subject on this sort of. When you pass, where would you like to be? You would like to, because again, I believe there's more than just the Scarpilli self. We've been in places where it's really active in a bar. So maybe it's a place where you come and have a pint had a pint with your friends. So you continually come to that spot, or this location like the theater we were talking about. This woman that's constantly seen. Theater was her life, so to continually go there would not surprise me. It's just like a church. You do have, I think there's spirits who have passed. Churches have weddings. Churches have funerals. So spirits are continually coming and going or staying as part of that congregation or that church.
Yeah, definitely. But I wouldn't want to live in a church as a house, no.
Oh, come
No.
on.
No.
A lot of space.
No.
Yeah, this particular
open
one
door.
was very pretty, but yeah, I told my husband, no way, Jose, I could not live there.
Well, yeah, it's just like some people drive old Hearsts. I mean, that to me would be something unique. It would creep me out.
Yeah, I bought an
like
old 63 Pontiac Bonneville, and everybody thinks it's a hearse, but it's actually a Kennedy ambulance, like that exact make. So that's probably got some stuff too. I'm planning on doing like some sort of investigation in there sometime, just because I'm just wanting to do investigations, and it's just difficult still. But yeah, that could be pretty interesting. What could be attached to that? I wonder.
Well, I mean, it's just like morgues. Morgues are the same area. We were at a morgue. It's a Vancouver Police Museum, and we did an investigation there. And it happened to have the regular morgue upstairs, but it had a secondary or an overflow morgue downstairs, and it had only been used once in the entire history of that building. And the only time it happened is when we had one of our major bridges during construction collapse, and there was like 71 people that perished, and the morgue was being used at that time, and it was the only time the secondary morgue was used. We actually got Vanessa, who's with us as a member, seen different things, and Troy had the thermal up and caught different cold spots within this, and moving cold spots within this secondary morgue. So that was kind of interesting to be with as well.
For sure. Yeah. Creepy places.
Yes.
Well, and creepy people. I mean, Janine, I think starting out had her own experiences like in Niagara Falls.
Oh yeah. So Niagara Falls is very powerful. Obviously, a lot of electrical ions in the air because of the falls. So that's where I had my instance of time fragmenting.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it was crazy. It's only happened to me once. And it was the 80s. I was with 3 of my friends. They were sisters, Italian, big hair, big shoes, Camaros, Firebirds, the whole bit. So, we're there in Niagara Falls.
Resilient.
And I'm like, why are you wearing those shoes? Like, again, it was kind of funny. So,
what are those?
Yeah. This voice comes out of the sky, this, man. And it says to me, and time is then going millisecond by millisecond by millisecond, weirdest thing I ever experienced. This voice says to me, step off the curb, get the girls out of the way. A car is going to come around the corner. Push them back, it will hit you, and you will be okay. And so then time starts to go back to reality. I push them back because I'm no longer in control. Like I push them back. The car comes around the corner, hits me. I go flying on the sidewalk. I lose my tailbone. And they were like, "How did you know?" And I go, "I don't know." And I explained to them sort of what had happened. And to this day, I don't think it was attached to me. I think it was attached to them. But for whatever reason, in that moment of time, that message got through to me to get them out of the way for something that they needed in their lives. It's like the prime directive. Like, you got to go back and you got to stop this girl from, losing her arm because she's going to become, a neurosurgeon or something. But it was just really weird.
Wow.
Only the one time. Just crazy.
Yeah, perhaps had they gotten hit, they wouldn't have lived through it, but you did. That's amazing.
Yeah, because I was on the end of it as the car was coming around the corner, and they were stepping off the curb, and I shoved them back. Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah, that's not the only instance that Janine growing up. She had another where she lost some time.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that lose time and don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was very fortunate. We were talking about parents earlier. I was very fortunate that my parents knew I was a little weird. And so they never questioned sort of. There had been enough instances in my life that it was kind of the norm, right? So this one time, I'm driving from work up to see my parents. They live 2 hours north of Toronto. I did the same route all the time, drive up Airport Road, watch this guy who was building an ark at the side of his driveway, get to Orangeville, stop at McDonald's, have a pop, hang a right, and go the other hour to my parents' place, right? This one day, I'm going up the road in my Camaro, I might add, because I had one too, and I go past the ark. That's good. I don't go to McDonald's. The next thing I know, I'm already almost home. And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, was I daydreaming for like an hour and a half? Because I guess some people can do that. Mm-hmm. But the kicker was, I walked in the kitchen, and my dad looks at me, and he looks at the clock, and goes, you're early. And it only took me an hour to do a trip that takes like 2.5 hours.
What the heck?
And I was like, Dad, I can't explain it. I mean, my car is fast, but it's not that fast. And to this day, I don't know where I went for that hour and a half and how it knew to pick up my car and put me on the road further down. It was crazy. So yes, that's part of the whole time, space continuum thing I was kind of referencing earlier. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I've hit time warps before where you're actually late going somewhere and you're trying to get there quickly, but then all of a sudden you have time to get there. I don't know what's happening, if it's just like links within, our realm or something that we're able to go through and it boosts you forward, or is this something alien? Like, what the heck is going on with that? It's funny because the only so I always believed in UFOs because my mom was the more spiritual, able to see and communicate with spirits and such. My dad didn't believe in that stuff. The only paranormal experience he ever had was being with my mom. He saw a ghost once, and that was it. But he thoroughly believed in aliens and UFOs. But it wasn't until I was pregnant with my son that I saw my first one. And when he was born with 6 fingers on his right hand. And back in the Old West days, or back when Native Americans or First Nations people, I really love that term you guys use because I think it has more respect within it. But First Nations people, and they would put their hand up not to say hello, but to see if you're human or extraterrestrial. So it makes me wonder.
That's an interesting element. Mm-hmm. Never thought of it that way. I know that we've talked about Sasquatch and UFOs and possibly the connection there, but I know that I talked with a Native American First Nations person, and he was talking about Sasquatch and how in that particular region they would consider it a god. And because it could come and go as it pleases, and that they were really upset in the fact that people were continually going out to, per se, hunt for the Sasquatch instead of trying to investigate for them. And told me of some experiences that he had. So it made again, another story, another interest of perhaps maybe shadows going in and out. Maybe that's why Sasquatch can come and go, because there's that time fragmentation that we can't explain.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that they're interdimensional. Like the reason they can disappear so quickly or you can't find them is because they kind of jump into another dimension. I personally think they're just really fast and really good at, hiding and camouflaging and stuff. I've seen lots of different videos where I think one of the last ones was a female Sasquatch, and she was holding one of her babies, and it wasn't a baby, but it was like a little kid Sasquatch, and you could tell she's communicating with it. She picks it up, and then she just starts running, and the rate of speed is amazing. And it's funny, there was a Bigfoot movie, I think it was on Netflix, and it was actually a kids cartoon, and so I'm watching this with my kids, and they even implement that into the movie where they can run super fast, like super speed. It's pretty intriguing. And then they're like, well, how do you explain these photos that are never clear? Well, we have pictures of ghosts that aren't really clear.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think that Sasquatch has ghosts as well? Because there's ghost animals that I've seen. I mean, I think even plants have spirits or energies.
A lot of people have seen or claim they have seen Sasquatch particularly up in forest roads where they're going in to cut timber and things like that. And these are generally roads that are really not accessible by you and me for a number of reasons. But when they talk about the stride and the thing that they can, go across a wide berth of field or over a section of road in such a quick length of time, and the strides are so long that it's double that what you and I could do. That's quick. That's they can cover a lot of ground in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
So, but it's just like, you get, there's, I think that there's a lot more videos about that, because if you think about it, what does almost everybody have in their pocket? It's a cell phone or with a camera generally. So they can take pictures, they can take videos a lot quicker than we did 10 years ago.
But why are we all so stupid that we still forget to do it?
That's true.
I had a mist in my dining room one day, and I didn't even think about grabbing my phone. I was too busy going, oh, what's that?
Yeah, there's that shock and awe, and it also reminds me of concerts. You see so many people doing this, and they're focusing on their cell phone or filming this instead of really enjoying the concert. And it's just like when you have this experience, there's that shock and awe. Like with my first UFO sighting out in our backyard, I'm trying to get my cell phone to camera mode, but I'm just so elated, like I can't even get it to work properly. So I just called everybody over, and they saw it too. But it's hard to get in that mind frame when your mind is blown.
Where you talk about your activity in your home. Well, we've kind of got some activity here, and Janine's actually caught it on video.
Oh, with the Christmas lights, yeah. So
there's a story behind this, because it's kind of unique. And when Janine was talking first about the mist, it was when I was working on her dining room furniture, and we were, for lack of a better word, we were repainting everything.
Because I wrecked it.
Yeah. So
it's a family heirloom, and I wrecked it.
So and we tried to strip it and everything, and we ran out. Ran out of patience more than anything. So I had done all this, and Janine had actually seen this mist behind the table. Anyways.
Behind the table, yeah.
This gets into the other story.
So the Christmas lights, we have, it happens every year, ever since my aunt and my mom passed away. I'm not quite sure which one it is or whether it's both, but we have your usual multicolored strings of lights, several of them.
I'm a crazy person. I put up a lot of lights that you could probably see from space.
Yeah. But we'll throw the breaker, because that's the way they're plugged in outside. So there's no power going to these lights. And certain colors will stay on. And they're the colors that my house was when I was a kid. Like, there is no power going to these light bulbs. They are not solar.
The squirrels have chewed through the wiring. So there's,
We replace them every year. Same thing happens.
Oh my
Same
gosh.
Colors. Yeah, it's nuts.
In different strings, where they're, like I said, with the squirrels chewing through them, they're not even connected to any wiring or anything like that. So we thought, well, maybe it was, lighting coming in or anything like that. No, that's not the case. And because it was always the same colors, and it was the colors that Janine's mom and aunt
did their houses in, greens and blues, yeah. They're not like bright, but they're on. Like, you can see them.
Oh, yeah, they're on. So she ended up taking a couple of videos of them, just as is, just to see what, and explain it to
show my brother, look.
To explain it to people that, we have these lights. So, of course, now we get the comments from others in our family saying, have you had any experiences with the lights yet? So it's our Christmas thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, has Grandma and Mom come to visit yet? Let us know when you show up.
Yeah, pretty much.
For sure.
So of
That's
course,
so awesome.
It's creepy.
But it's cool at the same time. Creepy and cool. It's like, what is that?
Yeah. So it's and then we've had some of our team over here for social gatherings again before COVID, but And a couple of the mediums are like, there's somebody sitting in this chair, and the other one is like, oh no, there's another one in the corner, and they'll talk about it. And the one time Jude was actually sitting in the chair, and she says, okay, I'll move already, and she went over to another chair because she said she felt somebody actually behind her that kept on looking at her while you're in this chair. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it's attachment to things is another thing that really becomes alive. If you we talk about investigations, but we were at another investigation, and this particular place does a lot of antiques, and they'll go into a house that's being torn down and get a whole bunch of stuff out of there that they feel they can resell. So it's really unique pieces in this location. So we did an investigation there. Nobody had ever done an investigation there, and he was intrigued. I approached him, and he said, yeah, come on over and check it out. So we went in there, we did the thing, and the most activity that we had was the K2 responses around a set of china. No wiring anywhere, nothing that would set it off, nothing in the basement, nothing in, because it was like in the middle of the building, on a shelf, in display, and the K2s were going off it all the time. We'd go away from it, nothing. We'd come closer to it, it would start to react. You get right close to it, it would be steady. So, which was cool.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but oftentimes when I go into an antique store, there's so much different energy going on. Things or people do attach to things sometimes. Things sometimes mean a lot to certain people. You can't take it with you when you go, but I guess you can attach to it. But on that note, you guys, we do have to go to our second music break. This show is just flying by. But on this break, we have Fluid with I Love It. Then we have Griff with Best Life, as well as Zoo. And then Chico with Baby on Me. And this break is 13 minutes and 46 seconds. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.
My left hand, I'm ballin', making buckets back to back like I was Stephan. Better yet, I'm Phil Jackson, so don't treat me like the next man. And I'm kind of a real big deal, so don't be out here second guessing. Anyway, I make my pay and live this California lifestyle. Sunshine, loud packs, and chicks that love to get wild. That's how we do it every day. Slipping, sliding through the traffic on a mission for the day. Clearing marks about my way. Really got no time for y'all today. And all the craziness y'all talk, but never get your story straight. See me out here living great. I don't give a about all that hate. And when it comes to kicking game, I give you all that you can take. Trying to do it big, got no complaints. Every morning eating steak. They say I'm wrong for showing out, but I'ma do it anyway. Plus and thing ain't nothing, bitch, cause I can do it any day. And it don't matter where I go, I always represent the yay. I'm so in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Boppers used to hate me, now they tell me I'm tight now. Swagger through the roof, got everybody on my height now. So in love with this lifestyle. And I love it, and I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. See me, I'm out here getting it and loving how I live. Best believe if I do something, I'm a stupid do it big. And this hustling is my gig, so don't you ask me what I stand for. Stacking while I'm macking, trying to earn myself a couple Lambos. Yeah, you know them toys for them big boys. Emperor of sorts and all you other players decoys. Meaning you're not the real deal. Keep an appetite for dollars that I never miss a meal. All you suckers need to chill. I'm just trying to stack a meal and pull the baddest bras around and let show they sex appeal. Little bit of Netflix, then we chill. Losing clothes, keep on them heels. Working like a 9 to 5 and go right back to chasing skrill. I bring that real, never that phony. BS, y'all be stressing, put it down just like an OG. Perform these cookies, take flight. Some of y'all just out here acting. I'm a boss in real life. I'm so in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Boppers used to hate me, now they tell me I'm tight now. Swagger through the roof, got everybody everybody on my height now. So in love with this lifestyle. And I love it, and I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Keep it more 100 than a C note. Hall of Fame spitting, representing with these pimp quotes. Don't try to front, you know this shit's dope. Question is, will I ever fail? My answer is no. I make this hustling look amazing. Put it down, doper than a blunt of purple hazing. Spicy on the mic, I bring the fire like a Cajun. Scoville, making haters sweat when I be blazing. Leaning to the side, haters everywhere. Yeah, I hear them talking, but they simply wasting air. Can't understand the reason that they stay in my affairs. But I'm major with my movements, getting money everywhere. I'm so in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Boppers used to hate me, now they tell me I'm a type now. Swagger through the roof, got everybody on my height now. So in love with this lifestyle. And I love it, and I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. I love it, so in love with this lifestyle. And I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now.
I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Where you from? Who you with? Are you unplugged? Are you equipped? I do my thing, stay legit. In this world, no one's innocent. VIP, get bottles. One snap of my fingertips. See these haters like blah blah blah, blah 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 blah, talking gibberish. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Rolling and rolling and rolling SUV. Rolling and rolling and rolling with my homies. Rolling and rolling and rolling SUV. Rolling and rolling and rolling with my homies. I'm going to live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm going to live my best life. Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? I'm going to live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm going to live my best life. Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right.
Hit the club, got chose like it's nothing. Mathematician when it come to getting numbers. I'm screaming, one, I feel like money, why? Cause they be on me, 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 why? They be on me, they be on me, they be on me, they be on me. on me, they be on me, why? I'm like, look up in the sky, that's a bird, no, that's a plane. Chico just that fly, so make it splurge and make it rain. I keep that Scrabble mind, I got words and I got game. And she like circle goggle, she got curves and she got frame. And if mama a rider, I'ma swerve all in her lane. She give me gobble gobble, she superb with that good brain. Now baby, bout that action, make them bird drive me insane. I'm a jigger, low in action, mama purchase this good thing. And fire y'all employees, you dealing with a boss. And kick it with a player, I got juice and I got sauce. You messing with them losers, I feel sorry for your loss. I'm a heartthrob, baby, I can feel your beating pulse. GQ, so you know this player's done. Hit the club, got chose like it's none. Mathematician when it come and get in numbers. I'm screaming, one, I feel like money, why? Cause they be on me, 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 why? They be on me, 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 why? Juice daddy, baby, looky here, looky here. Milwaukee bought them bucks, fear the deer, fear the deer. I'm feeling like a player, must be pure, must be peer. So let me drop this knowledge in your ear, in your ear. I'm driving your chick crazy, let me steal, let me steal. She crying like a baby, I see tears, I see tears. She thick from the front, I see rear, I see rear. I see me in them panties, I see mirror, I see mirror. Fly guy, baby, you messing with a pilot. King of the ship, you messing with a pirate. Ding dong ditch, make her open, then I'm out it. I'm getting all in that belly, turned her into a Audi. GQ, so you know this player's done. Hit the club, got chose like it's none. Mathematician when it come and get in numbers. I'm screaming, one, I feel like money, why? Cause they be on me, 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 why? They be on me, 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 why?
But you can't read, no the man, but you can't read, no the man, but you can't leave.
You can't leave.
You're right where you wanna be. Time is right here with me. You're right where you wanna be.
Right with me.
You can be anything you want, if that's what you really want. You can be anything you want. All I want to do right now is leave it soon.
All I wanna do.
All I want to do right now is leave it soon. For good, I'm wasting time, not trying to lose my mind. Know that I am wasting time, not trying to lose my mind. If you want, get left behind in this rat race. Go back to my place where I know it's safe, and lock myself in my room. Won't watch the news, cause it is a so confused. What can I do
if I lose you?
All I want to do right now is leave
She was a Loompa Loompa, now her body super duper. Getting a lot of attention she was never used to. Hitting me up like I was Uber. Got a few miles, so I guess she's a cougar. Real winner, never seen her with a loser. Gorilla talk, ooga booga booga. Scuba, tuba, diver, I'm a rider. Getting cider, sweet like cider. Fighter, fighter, rider. Neither wants to get it going. Know it, hold it, fold it, blow it. Wait, I'm joking. Cages broken from these beasts. From down east on the streets, it's a zoo. All I want to do right now is leave this zoo. All I wanna do. All I want to do right now is leave this zoo for good.
Going back in. Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we are joined by Mr. Paul Busch and Miss Janine McCaw. Welcome back, guys, and thanks so much for hanging out with us and sharing your stories and experiences. It's been awesome.
Thank you. No problem. We love it. It's great.
Yeah, I love all the stories. You're like, I'm sorry, I could just go on forever. And yeah, if I could go for longer than 3 hours, I would. But yeah, I'm just loving hearing your stories and everything.
Tell us to shut up.
Yeah.
No way.
Put us on mute. Paul's talking too much. Shut up.
No, I love it. I love hearing stories and experiences. It blows my mind and makes me feel better about my experiences, and also like people that are listening. It helps them to know they're not alone. So how did you guys decide to first start Cornerstone Supernatural?
Jay?
Okay, so being the weird kid I referred to earlier, I always had a fascination with the paranormal, but being as old as I am, and I'm not telling you how old I am, there wasn't really the opportunity to do it. So say what you will about paranormal TV shows, and I worked in television for 20 years, so I happen to love them. It kind of opened, I think, a lot of people's eyes as to how you could actually do this, that, and the advancement of technology that made things like digital recorders accessible to everyone. You didn't have to lug around a big reel-to-reel and, all that sort of thing. So I think I kind of took it for there, looking for some answers as to the things that I have been experiencing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Janine and I, we've been together for 25 years.
Congratulations!
And, thank you. And so, coming out here, it was sort of like a natural progression, fascination sort of thing for me. And we just started, and for those that are listening that ever want to get into something like this, go to a public function. And that's how it sort of got, okay, if people can do this way, then how can we get... So again, we started out with a team. Eventually, like I mentioned on air, is that we came together as a group. Cornerstone came out of the name of the foundation because we wanted to have a strong foundation so that everything grew from there. And then our team just came together. It just came together. There's certain people in our group that came with us from other teams. There's others that were attracted to what we were doing and seeing the things we were doing and the locations, and it just took off from there. The reason we started the interior group is one of our really good lead investigators, Sharon Smith, moved from Vancouver to the interior. So, and she was really interested and well versed on the paranormal and what she could do. So it was a good thing for us to and we had a lot of interest from individuals within the interior, but obviously, and we had locations to go to in the interior, but we had enough to do here, just in the lower mainland of Vancouver, mainland British Columbia. So it was the progressive next step, and that's when we started the interior group and the interior team to form around Sharon and her gifts, and put some people with different talents in together with that. So that's how we sort of came together as a team, and it's been, we've had a lot of fun doing it, and we're going to continue doing that because I like your talk about going out and seeing if the people were interested in having an investigation or looking for locations. I do the same thing. I mean, I've got over 500 locations in my database that I just keep on, you push the button and you say, hey, are you interested in A? Or you get notice, or you've seen a story about something about that they've had a history of some sort of activity. Then you talk to them about their activity and say, well, would you like us to come in? Whether or not another team is being there because we don't own the sites is sort of irrelevant. We want to go in with a fresh set of eyes and maybe see something different that maybe somebody else missed. And then word of mouth, people talking to one another, and it just continues to grow from there. So, and damn this COVID, but it sort of put a stop in everything that we're doing for some time. So like I said at the beginning of the show, we're July 7th, we're going to be the first time going out, and then we'll take it from there.
So we were talking before we started the show about these First Nations kids that have been found around these different schools from back in the day. Have you guys investigated any of these sites or thought about it?
No. We thought about it, but we've got 3 First Aboriginals as part of our team. And in fact, Gary Gross is sort of like our liaison for First Nations, and I go how they feel. I want to make sure that they're comfortable in us going in those type of locations.
It's obviously not the time now.
No,
it's getting pretty volatile there.
Yeah.
We've had there's churches being burnt down on Aboriginal land.
Oh wow!
As we speak, so it's a very extremely touchy subject for a lot of.
Understandably.
Now we're going to just again for the team and everything. We've got a get together for the group or for the team up in northern British Columbia, latter part of July. And she is part of that family, and she's already lined up some of her Aboriginal friends to come in and do a ceremony, doing a drum ceremony, doing a blessing, and then we're going to have a meal together. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a real bonding thing between us and their side, because I don't think that line of communication is open all the time.
Yeah.
And so if same thing, they'll get to know us a lot better, talk to different areas, and it might open a lot more doors for us. I don't know, but we'll be careful about it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's very tender ground as far as like, where do you tread, what do you do? It's better to give it time and space and allow that healing to begin to happen and look for answers. And that's the hard part too. Like as far as the Dylan Redwine thing went, it's like I want to go out and help, but I don't want to insult or disrespect or hurt anyone's feelings. But we ended up finding quite a bit of stuff. We're finally going to trial 9 years later. Going to trial for him, and COVID actually put a backstop on that quite a bit as well. But I think eventually they'll get to a space and time where they'll feel comfortable with the ideal of looking for answers, which they found so much due to technology. I'm so grateful for that they're able to back up what they've been thinking for all these years, like something happened to my kid, or could be used to be somebody's brother or sister or whatnot. Like, what happened to them? Nobody's giving them answers. The first time I ever heard about this whole situation was, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip showing up at one of these schools and taking 3 kids with them, and they never came back. It's like, what happened? And there's so many different variations of what could have happened to these kids. It's just so sad, because I don't care what color skin you are, what your sexual orientation is, you to me are still a human being, and for people to treat them like they're not and that their life doesn't matter is just very hurtful. And I feel so bad for these families. And I'm not surprised that they're burning down these churches. I mean, I'd probably do the same thing or worse.
I think there's going to be more and more, especially with ground penetrating X-rays. I think that every residential school across Canada is going to have some sort of form of investigation, and then to see where that takes place, because I think it will help some people close the book as to where their child is gone. Because they're also the people that actually survived some of those residential schools, and the horror stories that come out of it. It's just frightening.
It's inhumane.
Yes. Yeah. And no reason for doing it. I mean, that's the thing. That's just, yeah. It's going to take some time. I mean, yes, I would like to answer your question. I'd love to do a respectful investigation on a piece, but I'll wait until the time is right, and I'll wait till the team says we can do this now. We're not going to do that beforehand. I think that it hurts. I know that for a fact, because their parents, or they know relatives that have actually survived this and the horrors that they went through. So
yeah, I watched several interviews and videos and stuff on this, and like you were talking about survivors, they're like, yeah, one day they're there and the next day they're gone, and you're like, well, maybe they're sick or maybe something, and they'll be here tomorrow, and then they just never came back. It's just so sad. Yeah. I don't understand.
There is a side of it that there is going to be some of that evidence coming out where they died of a disease or something like that, but I'm for sure that didn't happen to, like in Saskatchewan, where they found over 700 kids. There's no way.
Still doesn't justify unmarked graves, right? It really doesn't.
Yeah, very disrespectful, and not notifying the family if they did pass away from an ailment or whatnot. Hand it back over to the family, or at least let them know what happened. But just them not sharing any information just screams cover up to me.
Well, it's like going into any investigation, regardless whether it's on Aboriginal grounds or not. We always go in at the very beginning with respect. I mean, we have a saying at the very beginning that
we're here to we're not here to cause you any harm. We respect your place. We're going to leave it exactly as we found it, if that's the situation. There's some other ones when we don't, but depending on what the situation is, we always let them know we're not here to be the typical type of scream thing.
Antagonizing and such.
Yeah, I call them the paranormal Miranda rights. We run another show, and this cop's like, well, what do you do it for if it's not good? I go, well, we do it because it's kind of good to have them just in case. It's just like your Miranda rights. They're my paranormal Miranda rights. Right? I'm just going to do the blessing at the beginning, and then do the blessing in reverse for closure as we leave.
Yeah, because you don't want that.
Don't follow me home.
Don't want that attachment, right? So, good, bad, or indifferent. I think for we talk about people with that have, and again, rightfully so, they have had an experience where it's a dark experience. For me, I think it's more that particular entity spirit is more confusion than anything else. We've got or something darker, or rather than a light experience. We've got one individual within our team, Glenn, and he's our magnet for things that are going to happen to him. He has been the one location that I talked about where we had 7 entities. He stood in. We were doing a session in a room that held the original jail's bars, the doors, and they were stored there. And he was standing in the doorway, and he felt himself scratched. And sure enough, as soon as we looked at him, he's got this welt right across him. He thinks that somebody was basically telling him, "Don't stand in the doorway. You're not supposed to be there," right? And just pushed him out of the way. But I don't think it was a real negative aspect. It was more like authoritative than anything else. So
yeah.
And that happens quite often, like a spirit trying to get your attention or whatever. They can scratch you. I've had an experience where I was scratched and it was not a good thing. And you actually feel this chemical reaction, like a change happening within your body. And it was pretty scary. Luckily, I had some holy water. I'm not Catholic, but I have faith in these things. And I sprayed it on there. Within 5 minutes, it was gone. And then it happened again, and I sprayed it on there, and it took a lot longer to get rid of it because instead of 2 scratches along my pants line, it was 3. So it made that full contact, whatever this entity was. But yeah, just the weird feeling that you have in your body, kind of like you're drunk or drugged or whatever. I don't know. For me, it was very intense and very strange.
Well, we have, again, going on, a lot of our team goes into investigation. They carry different types of crystals for different types of warding, so to be it. We have others that actually do a cleansing before and a cleansing afterwards, right? Just to make sure that nothing attaches to them or comes home with them or has come in with them, So makes it's interesting. It's just like, it's a respect thing. And going back to your original question of going into doing an investigation, I think other teams or I'm not going to say, well, some others might want to do that, like get on it in a heartbeat and try to sensationalize it maybe. But it's, like I said, it now is not the time. We have to share, when we were talking about Canada Day and the celebration and that, I think this year in Canada, being July 1st, I think that there's going to be a lot of, it's not necessarily a celebration, it's going to be a reflection on some of the things that have happened to those that have been left behind than anything else.
Well, I've heard some negative things about Trudeau through different people. One especially being my old boss at my old radio show, and some people really don't like him. But as opposed to other people in the government, that when something like this happens, it's always deny, and try to cover up. And he actually embraced it and was like, "This is something that we have to acknowledge. This did happen, and we're very sorry." And he did a lot of different things I found respectful. Like I said, a lot of people that are in the government will deny it and try to cover it up, and he just totally accepted it and embraced it and is trying to help, I think, with that healing process, which is going to help this to move forward better than I think it would if he did deny it. So I think that's a good thing as far as this goes.
He also probably has some historical issues with it, because his father would have been pretty prevalent as prime minister when this was going on. So it's also a reflection on his own personal family that this is coming to light.
Yeah.
Right?
You probably have the same in the U.S. It's the same. The same thing is where certain minorities are definitely not looked at as a positive thing, or that they've had things happen to them that where, would you go into a location which has had a lot of murders for different reasons? Some of those locations are interesting. Others are more scary or political than any place else, and you try. And I think within our team, we just try to avoid certain things like that. We haven't. I don't think that we've been asked straight up or told straight up that we can't go to a location. But I think you have to be.
No, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
No.
It's just not us.
No. So it's totally the wrong time. If it had been a year ago before before they found anything, because I guess people are cognizant of this because everybody knows it sort of went on. But when they actually found something, then it becomes a whole different reality, so to speak, and you certainly can't flout it for something like what we do as a hobby. It's not right. It's not right.
Yeah, those tracks shouldn't cross.
Yeah, we do enjoy this field. It's something that we really love, and we've had lots of experiences. But like you said, your own discretion and to have that utmost respect and not tread on those certain grounds at certain times is very important.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that some people will sensationalize it in order to get that next hit or that next like. But I'm sorry, that's not us.
Yeah, nope.
You know?
Yeah, it's not going to work out good.
Nope, and I can say that 100% for the rest of the team. It's not us. So.
Well, that's awesome. Kudos to you guys for doing that. So let's get off of this because I'm feeling some energy coming from that. Have you guys ever had any attachments come home with you, or have you had any sort of experiences like that?
Other than my family, no.
Yeah, no, not me. People within the team?
Yes.
Yes. But again, that's why I was saying is that the different types of protection that people go into investigations with, and afterwards, they're more aware or more attuned as to, okay, I think I feel more, then they need to protect themselves a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think a majority of the team, I think, have not had any attachments come home with them, but I think a couple have.
Yeah, it's funny because having a group, you can attract all kinds of different people. Our original group, after Kat died, kind of dispersed, and then it was just me. And so I started doing World's Largest Ghost Hunt, and I gained members that way. But you have the weekend warriors that are just there for the fun and shits and giggles of it, and then you have the people that are very serious about this. So the people that we have as our core group, before COVID hit, we used to get together once a month and educate ourselves on ways of protecting and different entities and different things and how to deal with it. And the people that didn't come for those classes could not go on investigations at a serious place like a personal property or workplace, somewhere where we've been called to help, because not only are you, if you don't educate yourself and you're not taking these steps of protection, so on and so forth, you're not only endangering yourself, but you're endangering the client. And people get kind of miffed about it, but it's very important to know what you're doing and not just treat this as, oh yay, this is fun and I'm just going to come to do this because I watched this show. It's very important to educate yourself.
That gets back to when I was saying when we go in there with the opening for each place, it varies, because in most cases the people are like, I'm okay with it, I just want to know what's there. But if they are not okay with it, then I'm not going to go in there and lie and say, hey, everything's going to be cool and we're not going to do anything to you, because no. And that's part of the respect too. It's more like, all right, so you have to make a choice. Are you staying or are you going? Do you need help crossing that threshold? Again, it's respect. It's respect for what we know and what we don't know.
We did a school, and it was we did an investigation at a school, and the principal who had led us into the particular school was very apprehensive about the whole thing, and in fact, he almost bowed out a couple times, and eventually we did come in. I think the things that I shared with him afterwards, because we did get a lot of EVPs and also SLS hit with a child beside him. That, I think, I don't think we're going to be going back, because I think he's more afraid of the things I don't think he really wanted to know, but he wanted to know. You know what I mean? but it's an interesting event for him. It's just like we'll continue talking back and forth, but it's I'm scared, but I kind of want to know. It's like I want to dip into the ocean, but I'm kind of afraid of it. Yeah, so.
I totally agree with that. It's funny when you think about schools and there's kids there and there's all kinds of stuff going on. It's like, why are kids wanting to stay here in the afterlife? Maybe they didn't have such a good home life or something, and that's where they felt safe, or that's where they had their friends, or it was a fun place for them. For me, I'd be like, that's the last place I'd want to go if I was a kid, is to this school. But I think it just all depends on what their experience was throughout life. And people do get scared. And especially with my littles, I have a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 21-year-old. And with the littles, I'm just like, well, you're going to be a ghost someday too. How would you feel if you're trying to communicate with someone and they're afraid of you? Wouldn't that hurt your feelings? And it is normal to be afraid of the unknown, but I kind of try to put that seed in their mind to kind of think on a different perspective.
Yeah. Well, like Janine was saying, is that there's yes, I believe in it. There's no, don't get away from me. And then there's no middle. Like there's you can't have both sides. And you do have those individuals that want to know about what's happening in their world. There's others that want to know about what's happening in their location for their staff. And then there's others that, like I just talked about, that kind of want to know about it but don't really want to know about it. Mm-hmm. And we've run all the gamuts, and we will. We don't unless the individual or the location will let us. We don't share anything else. Like, we've been very careful about talking about certain locations tonight, because I'm not going to have them, because we have agreements with them, and we've built up that trust or rapport. And we're not going to just say, oh, go to blah, blah, blah's bar, and it's got ghosts. And others will just use it as part of their spiel. They'll actually, embrace it and actually have part of it. We go to one location and it's active, and as they like to talk about it all the time. So it all depends on the people and the location, but we've always been upfront as to whether we find something that is paranormal or something that we can totally explain. Mm-hmm. And not just sensationalize it. I don't know if you do this, but on all our investigations, we always bring the person that we've set things up with or their staff to come along with us. Because a couple things. A, it gives them ownership in what we're doing, and B, they get to see see or hear what's happening. So it's not necessarily an adventure for them, but at least they can find out for themselves. We're not just coming to them afterwards and saying, here's this evidence or stuff that we found, and they'll go, okay, thank you very much, have a nice day.
Please drive through.
They're actually there taking part of it, and that makes it really, really fun and interesting, and it develops a rapport with them, because they can ask if it's a person that they want to find out if it's their cousin or brother that's part of that's actually in the building or as part of the activity that's there. They can ask them personal questions, and if they get responses, we can share that information back to them. So it gives them some help.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's important as well because, we talk about trigger objects and such. Having someone there that the ghosts are familiar with and they're comfortable with. For example, this place that you investigated, and they just weren't doing anything. It's kind of like they hide. And sometimes it'll take days and days and days before they feel comfortable with you. Sometimes if people don't want to go with you, have them come in and introduce you and say, these people are here because I asked them to be here, so please, communicate with them or respect them or whatnot. And they'll kind of introduce them to the ghost. Or, like you said, I think having people there that are generally there is somewhat of a comfort to the other side, because they know these people and they see them on a daily basis or whatnot.
Yeah, they don't know us from a hill of beans when we walk in. It's sort of like, okay, what's this? You know, it's usually you and you, but it's, who are these guys and what are they doing and why are they asking me all these questions and you know, have all this different types of equipment that I've never seen before. It makes them more personal, I think. And I do believe that they actually get something tangible out of the whole experience, and something that they can share with the staff, or share with the people that work there, or share with their own with their partner, or anything like that. But this happened, and this is what transpired. You can also take that a little bit further. We did this investigation, and we, as a guest, we brought our next door neighbor, and he's pessimistic as all hell. He just does not believe about anything regarding the paranormal. So that's fine. We split into 3 teams in that particular building because it was large, and he was with he was with a team that had an SLS and actually seen some apparitions there that nobody could explain. There was nothing that stood out that it could capture. Heard things, reacted to questions that were not there. Afterwards, he became a believer, you know, because he couldn't personally explain or dismiss whatever was happening there. So he went in there. Here's the wall. He came out, and the wall had cracks in it. So which is really cool, because he's a journalist as well. So it makes it interesting. Yeah, I think that if you can take people, believe or not, that's entirely up to everybody's persona. But I think that if you can show somebody or have them actually take part of something, I think it gives them
a little bit of insight.
Yeah, into what we do. I tell people one of the first things that you do if you ever want to get into this, and I think I've said this, but go to a public event and just get there's the stuff that happens on TV. I get that. We watch it too, especially now to see what type of equipment they have. But go to a public event, take part of it, listen, act, see what's there, see what's happening. Maybe it's something that you find something that you want to take it to the next level. And c'est la vie. I mean, we've got a list of people that want to come as guests, and unfortunately we can't, because of our team size and that we can't bring a lot of people with us. But when we do, it becomes interesting for them, because especially if they haven't experienced it, it's cool. 100% cool. Even if they're sitting in the dark for 4 hours talking to paint.
Right.
Reading Peter Pan.
Yeah, you know. But then when you go afterward, and then you because we messenger each other afterwards, or whoever was there, and say, okay, this is what we think is some evidence, and then have everybody contribute. And whoever has been as a guest with us, we add them as part of it, so that they can hear the same things that we think we have heard. So they can make their own judgment. Yes, no, maybe, yes, it's great. I don't believe it, or it's Paul's stomach.
That was not a demon. Paul's just hungry.
That's it. Yep.
Didn't get his Snickers.
Didn't get my Snickers.
Yeah, looking like Betty White over there. Here, have a Snickers. So I don't know if you guys have discussed this yet as far as telling us your stories, but I was just wondering, what was your most mind-blowing investigation? If you've already shared it with us, that's cool, and I'll go on to the next question. But that's one of my favorite questions.
For me it was the child answering, and which is the same location that I caught the entity when I was reading Peter Pan. So it was a pretty active place for us.
Yeah, I think that capturing different types of I've said that as well, but capturing different types of evidence from different locations, I can't really pick out one because each one is different.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, with a good digital recorder, I mean, I tell you, that's probably one of the best places to start, and then take it from there. Because ask those questions. You think there's somebody there? Get a recorder. Boom, do it. But be careful. I don't think whenever we go into investigations, we never let people go by themselves. Just not gonna. I don't think it's safe for a number of reasons, right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't think. I think that probably the SLS activity that we've had stands out to me the most. It really does. Both at the theater and also at the place with the 7 entities, because they were both different, but both interacted with us.
Yeah.
So.
And just like, this is a little off topic, but having somebody that you can talk to about these things, that understands what you're going through, is so important. When my dad was pushing 80, and I would have been in my mid-30s, I guess, and I kind of was visiting him, and I snuggled up to him, and he turned to me and he said, "Janine, I've left my body twice. I've been above myself, looking down at myself. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back into my body." And I think that was just the manifestation of all the experiences that I had shared, luckily with my parents who accepted it all, that when that time of life was getting on there or whatever, he turned to me and he said that. And it's touched me to this day. It's a weird conversation to have with your child, for sure. Not that I was child, but as a parent to daughter, yeah, crazy.
So on your different investigations, have you ever found a spirit?
More than the stories we've already told, and I think that's given you some of those aha moments that we've come across. Things like some of our investigators being grabbed by the feet on a bed when they've ran out of the room, and then we've gone back to check the room and the bed and found out that the bed goes from the bed to the floor. There's no underneath of the bed, so there's no way somebody could have grabbed them. To interaction at a ski resort, and we had REM pods set on 2 different pool tables in the bar, and we would ask questions. We would ask questions around the area, and focus on one, and then we'd focus on the other, and it would react on one, and it would react on the other. That was another cool one. That was that just came to mind because it was there was always feelings of something in the bar, but this way we were able to have a little bit more of clarification to what was happening. So
we had a screamer at a movie studio once too. That was
yes,
a screamer.
That was crazy.
That whatever was there really wanted to scare us. Yeah.
Oh wow.
We were just setting up, and we had the digital recorders going. And you can hear me saying, "Okay, is everybody ready? Everybody in place? Okay, let's start." And then there was this and we never caught it there because we would there was 7 of us in the room.
We would have ran.
Somebody would have ran or reacted accordingly. But no, that was all done at the same. There was this scream afterwards that we came across, and that was crazy. That was at a movie studio.
Yep.
So that was fun.
No, all the places to be screaming. Unless you're doing horror movies on that set. That's intriguing. So on any of your investigations, have you come across...
Are you still there? Tess?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Tessa?
Hello?
Did we lose her?
Uh-oh. Okay, hold on a sec. Let me see what's going on.
Well, maybe we're on. Tessa's maybe taking care of somebody.
Yep, maybe she's had to go to.
So,
take care of...
Oh, no.
If at any time anybody wants to have any questions with us or anything like that, you're more than welcome to join our Facebook page. You can PM myself or Janine, and if you don't want to talk about things in the open, we'll try to lead you in the right direction.
Can you hear me now?
We don't have all the answers. We don't. We don't even think we have all the answers, but if we can help in any way, we'll try. Even if you're in an area, we've got member teams from around the world. We can always.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me now? Hello. Oh my gosh. Paratechnical issues. Okay. Bear with me. Grr. Bear grr. So I'm going to try to call Paul and Miss Janine back here real quick. Holy shnikes. I can't believe this is happening. At least it's at the end of the show. At least, you know, that's an upgrade. But holy shnikes. Here, let me try to call them back real quick. Oh my goodness. I could hear him perfectly fine and it showed my sound bouncing, but what the crap?
Hello
okay.
again.
We're still talking.
Hello.
It's okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so weird.
Yeah. We just kept going.
Paratechnical issues.
Now we see you.
We just kept going. Like, where is she? I don't know. Let's just keep talking.
So we kept talking.
We invited all your viewers to join us, and you know.
Yeah, come and talk if they have any questions or comments or things that's happened to them that they want to. They're more.
Should be like, oh my God, they were the guests that wouldn't go away.
That's what they're.
They even lost the call and they still kept talking.
No, it's crazy. Sometimes we have some paratechnical issues going on. Generally, it's when we have Psychic Chris Garcia on. We call it the Garcia effect, but yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, no worries. Ghost in the machine. But yeah,
right.
if
Gremlins.
you're just saying, if anybody has an issue or anything like that, come on our Facebook page and PM myself or Janine, and if if they're in an area that they might need some help or anything like that, I mean, as yourself, I mean, we know different paranormal teams around the world, and if we can maybe lead them in the right direction, we don't have all the answers, we never will, we never do, but you know, if we can help, we'll do our best to do it. When we go into a location, we always say, hey, you know, if you want us to find somebody for you, scream the name or tell us the name, and then we'll see if we can find it out that way. But you never know when anything can be better than nothing.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, and I asked you guys this question about 3 times, but you couldn't hear me for some reason. We could all hear you. So that's good. We didn't miss anything you were saying, but I was just curious, have you ever been on an investigation where you found a spirit was trapped and you had to help to release it, or just let it know you don't have to stay here?
You can say that.
Which one are you thinking of?
No, I'm just saying that if we come across a place, we don't, as a team, cleanse a place.
However, we do have members on our team that are capable of doing it, and they're kind of like the next step, right? Because I'm not going to mess around and try to clear something that I can't clear. That's bad.
Or have any clue as to how to clear it.
Go away. Yeah. So, but we do have others on our team that will like, okay, we're turning it over to you. This is what we found. We don't think the person is crazy. We think there really is something here. Because, you know, you get some people who are, you know, a little psychotic too from time to time, but like, no, it's something you should take a look at, and then they'll go in and do their. I mean, we have one guy who actually the Catholic Church has called upon him to help out with things before.
Very
so
nice.
I mean, it's quite serious.
Yeah.
That if they need to do that, he knows how to do it, right?
And then the same guy from he'll if he thinks that it's not something that needs the church involved, then he'll and he thinks it's just a paranormal thing, he'll pass it on to us to go in and see if we can help or anything like that. And needless to say, there are people out there that just they're beyond our help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for lack of a better word, it's somewhere up in the frontal lobe of their brain that we can't help that. And it happens, sorry to say, but
it does. I think more often than not it is a paranormal thing going on, but sometimes you get people that do have mental disorders or whatever going on, or they could have like past trauma where they're causing these poltergeists or attacks or whatnot to happen, and we'll go through and we'll investigate, and if we pick up on that, we'll be like, we're going to ask you to go and seek some psychological or mental or whatever help. You need to go get a counselor and try to work through these things. And then this one particular case that we had, they actually got a hold of us about a year later, and they're like, well, we had the original ghosts or entities here, now it's much worse. And I'm like, well, did you guys take our advice and go and seek some counseling or whatnot? No, we didn't do that. Well, if you didn't do that, we can't help you. We try to help you, we try to guide you in the right direction, and if you don't listen and take that course, there's nothing else we can do for you.
Yeah, it's just like if you if a person, it all depends on the energy of the location and the person you're working with, or the things like that. Get back to the same thing, the place with 7 spirits. Beforehand, before this manager and this director of entertainment took over this or became part of this location, there was a lot of negative energy there. There was a ton of bad mojo, so to speak, and it reflected in the spirits in their persona, and how they were interacting with individuals. Now this new came in, positive energy and things like that. It was a whole different ball game going in there. Yeah. It was really the way the staff was all up and things. The people were treated properly. They liked coming to work, all that sort of thing. So it made a hell of a difference in the day-to-day activity than anything before.
We also had that one time where we had a residential where it was a teenage girl, yep, and her father called us in, and it was more of a reassurance that she wasn't crazy because she was very sensitive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she didn't have anybody around her who understood what she was feeling was natural for her.
Well, unfortunately, you guys, I hate to interrupt, but we are at the end of our time. I just want to thank you, Paul and Janine, again for being on the show tonight. Can you tell our listeners where exactly to find you if they have any questions or they need to discuss their paranormal issues?
Facebook, Cornerstone Supernatural. Give us a PM.
Yep. And we'll see what we can do and see if we can help out in any way. But it's been fascinating and fun to be part of this, Tessa. Thank you so much.
So much.
I so hope you guys come back someday. I'd love that.
Not a problem. Not a problem. We'd love to be back.
Okay, so don't go anywhere. I'm going to get through this outro, and then I'll be right back with you. But thank you guys once again for being on the show. It's been awesome, and the time's just flown by.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, listeners.
And thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, iHeartRadio, and wherever else beyond the Omniverse you may be listening tonight. I can't wait to do it again next weekend, Saturday, July 3rd. We have Mr. Psychic Chris Garcia on, so make sure you call 970-335-9596 to get your free psychic reading. He blows me away every time. On the 4th, we're going to do a pre-recording because, like I said, that's my anniversary. That's my codependence day. But you guys, don't forget, we're all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. If you would like to join us for our Skype after party, just look me up at tessa.n.thomas30@gmail.com or give me a jingle jangle at 970-335-9596. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light to all my yous out there. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you back here, same time, same place. Take care of my